It is January 6th, ladies and gentlemen, and on this day, Congress has formally certified Donald Trump as the victor of the 2024 election. It's the first time ever that a woman has certified her own presidential defeat, and that's Kamala Harris, and we're all here for it. Interestingly, however, that Democrat liberal judge over in New York says either way, Trump is to be sentenced on the 10th. This is where things get interesting. Now, they're saying he's not going to get any prison time or anything like that, but who knows? What if Trump shows up for sentencing and that judge just says, change my mind, 34 felonies, you're going to jail. Sends Trump to prison, and then what happens? I really doubt it, but who knows? Trump filed to have this stayed or quashed effectively, and the judge said, nah, we're going to sentence you. So I guess we're in for a very interesting week. And then Justin Trudeau resigned, and here's what people aren't picking up from this story. I mean, he's still prime minister. He announced his resignation pending the Liberal Party's election of a new leader, but he did it because of Trump. Trump threatening these tariffs threw the whole Liberal government of Canada into chaos, and now Trudeau's out. So Trump is winning, and he's not even president yet. We'll talk about that. Plus, we got a bunch of weird stories about, we got to talk about the drone thing and the Las Vegas. You know, it's our first day back after vacation, and we had this crazy thing in Vegas. This guy sent an email to Sean Ryan about gravitic propulsion drones. It's all just very weird. So we'll talk about that. And then, we're going to go for it. There's this story from the New York Post that the vaccine caused this woman's boobs to grow massively. And I think we'll need some levity for this one. But we'll talk about that. I mean, it's probably horrifying for the woman. But we'll talk about all that. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com. Pick up Cast Brew coffee. We have delicious coffee. We have 2 weeks till Christmas. Phil Labonte's gingerbread coffee.
It's delicious.
Yeah, but it's now 2 weeks from Christmas. And then, of course, we've got Appalachian Nights, Rise with Roberto Jr., Stand Your Grounds. And also, don't forget to head over to boonieshq.com. Pick up one of our beautiful skateboards. If you like the boobies, we have this blue-footed booby on a skateboard. This is our second most popular skateboard. It's a blue-footed booby bird, and everyone finds it to be very funny for some reason. I love it. And then we got the right to arm bears, the oft-forgotten attempted amendment to the Bill of Rights that didn't make it, was the right to give bears guns. So if you think bears should wear straw hats, flannel shirts, and carry shotguns, this is the skateboard for you. But don't forget also to head over to timcast.com. Become a member. As a member, you make all of this possible. You will also get access to our Discord server where you can hang out with like-minded individuals. There's pre-shows, after-shows. There's a members-only uncensored show Monday through Thursday that you can hang out at. And as a member, call in and talk to us and our guest. If you sign up for $10, you get access to the basic channels, but you got to wait 6 months until you can actually submit to call in the show. And the reason is we get a lot of people trying to screw with us, trying to come in and cause problems, and they do. But there's another option. If you sign up for $25, you jump the line. I know it sucks. It's either a time gate or a money gate. We had to create some kind of balance because we do get a lot of haters trying to come in, just disrupt everything. But go to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, and you make this show possible, and we're eternally grateful. But also don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel right now, share the show with everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we have two veterans on two different sides of January 6th. First, it is the man himself. It is Lectern Guy.
Hey, Tim. Good to be back. Happy January 6th to all who celebrate.
It's Patriots Day.
I am here to establish an alibi. I've been here all day. I moved nothing, touched nothing, so leave me alone, bro.
You have a real name, though.
I do. My real name is Adam Johnson, my Christian name.
Ah, yes. Now dubbed the Lectern Guy. At first, they were calling you the Podium Guy.
They were. This and Via Getty, but we corrected the record.
Via Getty is my favorite.
Yes. I mean, oh, God, Twitter 1.0.
Yeah, those are the days, huh? Well, we also have a man who was there on the ground in a different capacity.
Yes, I was on the ground as a credentialed journalist, so I didn't have the same legal troubles. I did hear we have an insurrectionist in our midst today, so I decided to deck myself out in some protective gear.
Just in case.
Just in case. Richie McGinnis, author of Riot Diet, One Man's Radical Ride Through America in Chaos, and got some wild stories in there. January 6th maybe is the craziest. I don't know. I'm not sure.
And we thought it was appropriate to have you both on this day.
It's an
January
honor.
6th.
It's an honor.
And
can I be your lectern?
I will carry you like one of my
right.
French girls, yes.
Make it work.
well, okay. We got some news on January 6th, of course. Merrick Garland issued a statement where he said 5 cops died in the line of duty, which is just an egregious lie. These people are out of their minds. We'll talk about that. We also got Phil hanging out.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's go.
Let's jump into the big news. Ladies and gentlemen, history was made. Donald Trump becoming, I think it's only the second president to have 2 non-consecutive terms now. He's not been inaugurated or sworn in, but he has been officially certified as president. Kamala Harris oversaw the certification, making her the first woman to certify her own loss in a presidential race. And there's very few people who have done that. I think Nixon.
Glass ceiling broken.
Al Gore, absolutely. So, Al Gore did. Nixon did. I'm not sure how many others, but the first woman.
First black woman.
That's right. Or Asian, depending on how you want to phrase it.
Depending if you're in the UK or the US talking about it, right?
Depending if you want a visa or not.
Or you can call her Jamaican. She checked a lot of boxes. She's the first of a lot of things to fail. So congratulations, Kamala Harris. But we don't need to dunk on her. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this story. Judge Merchan denies Trump's request to delay sentencing. This is where things get weird. I'd love to sit here and we'd crack open champagne and be like, haha, look, hey, January 6th came and went, and Trump has been certified. But Trump is to be sentenced. I'm assuming he's got to report to New York City as president-elect, certified in a joint session of Congress. He's going to go before this judge who says, he's not going to give him prison time, but could very well give him prison time. I'll just say this. So Trump files saying we should quash this. Quote, defendant's motion for a stay of these proceedings, including the sentencing hearing scheduled for January 10th, is hereby denied. This is interesting. Trump is trying to prepare to be president right now. He's got a transition going on. They're trying to whip the votes to get his nominees confirmed. And now they're still trying to obstruct him. I got to say, guys, I don't think they're just going to roll over and give up. The certification process went without a hitch. No Jamie Raskin trying to insurrection or anything like that. There were protests. And then all of these liberal pundits come out and they say, see, we are honorable. But then they do things like this. Yeah. Don't tell me, you're not going to convince anybody that this Judge Merchan is not a Democrat operative. I don't mean that literally not working for Democrats. I'm saying he is of the political persuasion that is aligned with Democrats to help them out. They're not going to stop here. But what do you think happens? Trump goes to prison on Friday? Slow. It's a Friday. It's where they go to kill news.
Bold move, Cotton. I mean, this is the elected president. We came in, we said, want this guy. For them to put him into prison at this point after all of this, it wouldn't shock me if that was the move. We saw the first 4 years of his presidency, and they threw the book at him. We went through COVID, we went through lies, Russiagate. It would not shock me to see them put him in prison for 12 days.
What if he did
12 days.
What if he did the oath from prison and then he pardoned himself from prison?
He can't pardon a state level charge.
He can't?
Nope.
Wow.
Raining on your parade over here.
I thought he was God Emperor.
Only federal charges. Only federal. But a lot of people are pointing out that you can be sworn in from anywhere. And was it Reagan? He was sworn in on a plane or something like that. I think that'd be based.
Yeah, you can be. You don't have to be sworn in at a specific location. It just has to be. I'm not sure who the actual person doing the swearing in. I'm not sure if if it has to be by an official, by a specific person that's in the federal government, or if it's just someone that represents
Google it.
The government.
Wouldn't it be crazy if Trump is sentenced to prison and then he's in prison and they swear him in as president, but he's still in prison?
But what would he? Yeah, you can't go to the Capitol. So how does that work?
They can swear. Apparently, you can be sworn in from anywhere.
You could email in prison. You could still get some things done behind bars. And I will tell you, the clout he will have going into prison, they're not going to mess with him. It's going to be very hard to get with him. He will have a lot of power there.
Yeah.
People. No, I mean, we can pardon anyone apparently at this point. So
there's
oh, right. They're going to be like, hey, I got a homie on federal charges. Yo, pardon him.
Exactly.
They're going to leave him alone.
There's no one that has to do the swearing in. The Constitution doesn't specify anyone. Usually it's Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, but it doesn't have to be anyone in particular. So it could be just, I suppose anyone could say, okay, take
Karen from Home Goods.
The warden.
Yeah.
The warden gives him the...
Oh, people are saying it was Lyndon Johnson when Kennedy was shot. Yeah, there you go. That makes sense. Sworn in on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that. Extenuating circumstances. But
Kennedy was shot. Why'd you use the passive voice there? Who shot? Who shot him?
Because it's in the past.
Because
passive voice.
For some of us,
he was shot.
He was
by a gun. Who shot him?
he was shot.
Was it Lee Harvey? No.
I'm
asking. I'm seriously asking. Who do you think shot Kennedy?
Who do I think?
Yeah.
I do think that it was Lee Harvey Oswald among the people shooting at him.
I don't know. Ron Paul. We did a culture.
I don't even think he was in the book depository.
Ron Paul said CIA did it.
That's correct.
That 6-4 museum.
That's what I understand.
Who didn't Rand say that too?
Yeah,
And then RFK Jr. said it.
But there's
And that one's the real weight when like RFK Jr. is like. Actually, I don't know if Rand said.
wasn't there
Sure Rand
wasn't there paperwork or something like that released recently that implicated that the CIA was involved at least. I'll Google that to see.
They came
So
out
we got a super
oopsie
chat.
daisies.
Joe is saying the swearing in has to be done by a judge. So here we go. We got this. We'll read a little bit more from the story. They say, today, President Trump's legal team moved to stop the unlawful sentencing in the Manhattan DA's witch hunt. The Supreme Court's historic decision on immunity, the state constitution of New York, and other established legal precedent mandate that this meritless hoax be immediately dismissed. Trump spokesperson Steve Chung told Fox, the American people elected Trump with an overwhelming mandate that demands an immediate end to the political weaponization of our justice system and all of the remaining witch hunts. We look forward to uniting our country in the new administration. Look, there's this clip on CNN where Scott Jennings gets told to zip it by that Bolden, whatever her name is. I don't know her name. And I'm just thinking, like, for one, like, who cares? Because nobody watches CNN. But on this show, she asks Scott specifically, like, how come so many people won't acknowledge how bad January 6th was? And then Scott plays this, like, I'm going to be nice to CNN and goes, well, some people have acknowledged it. And I'm sitting here being like, yeah, the voters did when they voted for Trump. They acknowledged that they didn't care.
Yep.
So here's my advice to all of you. When anyone at any point, your cousin, your aunt, whatever, your friend says, how come Republicans don't denounce January 6th when the Krasensteins tweet at you, say, we all acknowledge January 6th by electing Donald Trump. That's how little we care about this nonsense you're screaming about.
Yeah, when I was shopping around my book originally with publishers and agents, they're telling me Trump was old news and that he was first. This was 2 years ago.
They told you he was old news, and
he was old news.
It's over.
He's not going to make it through the primary. Yeah. I said, all right, I'll start my own publishing company. Thank you very much.
Wow, boy, that was dumb.
Yes, the publishing is even dumber than news, as I've learned.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're looking. Look, when it comes to books, it could be a book with just every page says buck, so long as the cover sells. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Michael Knowles had the book, right? It was Reasons to Vote Democrat. It was blank inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are no reasons.
I should have come up with that.
I think we got a mandate on election day on November 3rd. That's it. Nobody cares about January 6th.
No.
Here we are, and we're pretty much over it. But I'm curious if you guys think that there's going to be any other plays outside of this. There are fears about assassination attempts, things like that. Like, are they going to let Trump just become president and get his agenda through?
So I've been here a couple of times in the interim between January 6th and today, and I have said, I don't think they're going to let him run, and then he won the election. But they shot him in between. That thing did happen.
Horrible.
That thing did happen. And I'm looking at this, and this is kind of the death throes we're seeing from the media. They're not done. And I think that even if he's sworn in, they're not going to stop. We're going to see 4 more years of this. And I wonder, we saw the playbook last time. I am genuinely worried about what comes next.
So I honestly think that they're limited in what they will be able to get away with because of the fact that it was such a resounding victory for the right generally, right? And it's not just here in the U.S. Like the writing's on the wall for Trudeau. You've got right-wing parties all over Europe are gaining favor with their respective countries. I think that people are tired of the left's narrative, which is our democracy or our way of life is threatened by these people that have a different perspective on politics. And I think that the reason why I think that's the reason why you see all these right-leaning parties gaining favor is because people are tired of it. So I don't think that I think you're right in that people on the left still would love to be able to do something, but I think that they don't have as much ability because people are tired and they're not listening to the left as much anymore.
Right. Maybe
I don't know. The CNN thing was funny to me because they're still trying to play this game of both sides, and they had on Bakari Sellers, who just lied and said there's no U.S. troops. Trump's inheriting a government with no U.S. troops overseas in a combat zone. And then Scott Jennings mentions like there are. And then she stops him from getting into the details. We have 2,000 troops in Syria.
Yeah.
How could you have a dude go on TV and just lie like that? I got to tell you, we had that dude Luke on a couple weeks ago.
Luke Beasley.
And everybody
That was fireworks.
everybody loved that clip. And I'm like, look, we debated about like left wing and right wing violence, and I'll tack this one on. He's coming back because he's a good dude. Look,
I mean, props to him for
he's coming back on.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's coming back. He's going to be in town, and he said he'd love to come back and do more. We have another show planned in like a week or two, so it'll be fun. But the problem with the left right wing violence thing is that the left is a cult, where as long as you adhere to their social order, you are leftist, and everyone else is right wing. So when they say like the right wing is more violent, it's like, dude, you're comparing like some Bitcoin libertarian tech guy in San Francisco and claiming he is part of the same ideological faction as a shaved head tattooed neo-Nazi who lives in the wilderness of Appalachia. Like two completely different worldviews with no relation whatsoever, and you're like right-wing violence. I'm like, yeah, you can't compare these two people. Like a middle-aged, overweight, day-laboring Trump supporter who wants to watch a game of football and order a slice of pizza, votes for Trump and is called right-wing, and then they say, you're violent because some unhinged racist guy killed someone in a church. And it's like, but this guy doesn't share any values with that other guy. The left, specifically, these people all have an overlapping adherence to their social orthodoxy. That's what we'll criticize.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. The fact that the left is defined as narrowly as possible when the left is talking about left-wing violence, and the right is defined as broadly as possible.
And Antifa is by design. If you walk up to somebody at a protest and you're like, yo, are you Antifa? They're not going to say yes.
Yep.
So it's by design, a flat hierarchy similar to like the terrorist cells that operate around the world. And, it's easy to, like spot a Proud Boy because they're proud.
And Democrats.
Right, so I've been on the ground and I've seen these black bloc types. We call them Antifa. They have different views. They do. But they fight together. Yeah. So it's like when you see a tanky, like a communist Soviet style, like we should control everything. And then you see a radical, they call themselves anarchists, but they're not. They're extremely violent. But they don't. They'll tell you, oh, we don't like the tankies. We don't like the communists. And I'm like, you are wearing the same clothes as them, standing next to them and fighting together. Yeah, bro, you're not gonna pull a fast one on me. I'm sorry, dude. Like you guys fight together. You can argue all day and night. But once again, they try to make that claim that some like anarcho-capitalist tech guy who buys a bunch of Bitcoin is comparable to a neo-Nazi. They're two completely distinct things.
Yeah. My complaint is that they called me a cult. I'm in a cult, right? But no one eats the right more than the right. We bury each other on a daily basis. We call each other out. We're honest. We actually have our convictions, and we speak about them.
Yeah, the whole
look at the whole the H-1B thing.
Yeah, I mean that was everybody was decrying like, oh, like this is the right is eating itself, like you said, but I view that as actually having a conversation about immigration that has been, tabled for 30 years.
But it wasn't even the right, really. It was the disaffected liberals who joined MAGA, many of them arguing with MAGA. MAGA has always been immigration critical to a great degree. Like Milo tweeted out 20-year moratorium on immigration. And I'm like, yeah, I've heard that from a lot of Trump supporters. Yeah. That's not surprising. And then it's the Elon types who were former liberals who voted for Trump because of wokeness who are saying, no, we're for H-1B. And it's like, right, this is now the reckoning between the disaffected liberal types and the conservatives.
Well, I don't want to play world police. I don't want to play World Bank, and I definitely don't want to play World Refugee Camp. And my thought has always been, get your house in order. And until our house is in order, maybe we stop playing World Refugee Camp.
Yeah, my view, it's really funny because there's like this meme going around that said, I'd like to find it, Team Elon and Team USA. And they put me in Team Elon. And I'm like, I'm telling you guys, a lot of it was bot farming, was a bot attack. And people got mad at me for saying that the censorship attacks against Elon appeared to be an op. And I'm not wrong. I'm not saying there's no real sentiment against him, but people who are really stupid can't understand this. So like all these like people on X start tweeting at me being like, "Oh, you're wrong. It's not an op. I actually believe this." And I'm like, dude, when there's an opinion that exists, of course there are people who actually believe it. When bot accounts start tweeting generic racist things that kill the argument against H-1B, it looks like an op. And so me coming out and saying it looks like an op, the bot farms instantly put me in the Elon camp, despite my opinion on H1B being, yeah, we should suspend it and reform it because it's broken. But they don't know how to address that because they're not real people.
Well, it's nuance. That's a tough thing, you know.
AI can't handle it.
Well, plus, like, nowadays, you know, like, what even is, because, like, I'm pro free speech and anti-war. That would have made me a left-winger 15 years ago. But now, you know, as the sands are shifting, as the paradigm is shifting, the definition of what these boxes are is completely changing. Like, I ain't no neocon, I'll tell you that.
Left and right are easily defined. The right is anybody who watches the news and has a general understanding of what's happening, and the left is people who either know or don't, but either way just adhere to their social orthodoxy.
See, that's the interesting thing, though, is that the left is supposed to be the opposite of an orthodoxy. They were, you know, supposed to be the
parties have flipped,
like liberal and progressive are two different things.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I try to articulate frequently here. The idea of a progressive is different than a liberal. Now, I don't feel like I get a whole lot of traction because people on the right and conservatives have gotten so accustomed to calling Democrats liberals.
Yeah, exactly.
That the argument that, hey, Democrats and progressives are not the same thing as a liberal. A liberal looks at liberty first, blah, blah, blah. You can make that argument until you're blue in the face, but if people aren't listening, people aren't listening. And that's one of the things that I feel like people just, they're so used to calling Democrats liberals. Thank you, Rush Limbaugh in the 90s, because he's the one that did it. But that word has become so radioactive with the conservatives that you can't really.
Here's the meme. This was the H1B debate. Team USA versus Team Elon, and they put me in Team Elon. And this is really funny because I say, like, when I say it's bot accounts, here's what it means. Okay, when I come out and say, hey, it looks like there's an op happening against Elon to try and make Elon and MAGA fight, because that's been a narrative for months now. And what did we get? People were tweeting like, Elon and Trump know there's a campaign against them. They're not going to fall for it. But then as soon as the H-1B thing happens, all of a sudden, everybody's falling for it. But my point was specifically that there were brand new X accounts that had opened up only in the past month. People had started screenshotting this and pointing it out. They were posting insanely racist things. I think Elon took the bait. He said, oh, these racists are going to be bad for the Republican Party. And I said, yeah, we can't. I tweeted, we can't allow fringe identitarianism basically destroy the Trump movement and or MAGA or whatever, and that there was an op. And then I went on this tirade about actually going into H-1B, how, I'll put it this way, H-1B, for those that don't know, it's supposed to be, hey, my company can't find the skilled enough worker for my company. I have no choice but to hire from insert other country. $85,000 per year, but that's not what it is. Patrick Bet-David got called out because apparently he had an application for, I think it was a graphic designer for $41,000 a year, something like that. Was that what it was? Was it a graphic designer? I don't know.
I'm not in the weeds that deep.
But he got called out for it. I don't think he really addressed it. He just said, hey, look, you know, like we hire a lot of people and stuff like that. And that's not what H-1B is supposed to be for.
And it's a lottery too. So like the argument that, oh, we're getting the top 0.01%, it's like, how do you get that through a lottery? And I went through that with an employee when I was working at the Daily Caller, and you know, we went for the H-1B, didn't get the lottery, and then we got the O-1 extraordinary persons visa, which is a way higher bar. And the lawyers were like, this probably isn't going to work, but if you're really that talented, then you can make your case. But the H-1B is literally, hey, throw my ball into there and see if it comes out in the lottery. So how do you get getting the top 0.01% from that?
Yeah, I think H-1B is total BS. It's been abused by big tech. They blast the H-1B lottery with as many applications as possible, so they end up getting almost all of them. And then what ends up happening is, the reason why I think H-1B is fine in the concept, in concept, but it's not how it's actually brought about. The problem is, if we as a nation and all of our companies keep saying, we don't think the American people are driven enough and have the work ethic to do the job, so we have no choice but to hire someone else, you're going to bring some dude from India, from China, from wherever. They're going to come take the job. They're going to have kids. Those kids are going to grow up in a diseased culture where they develop the same as every other American, lazy and incompetent, as these people argue. I'm not saying they are. And then what's going to happen in 20 years? They're going to go, once again, all these Americans are too lazy and we have to hire from China or India. And then the children of H-1B recipients are being raised in a culture where they don't learn work ethic and they don't succeed. There's only one solution. Shut down H-1B and require American companies to invest in Americans. And if you're upset because you're like, yeah, but American workers are lazy, then you got to find the best of the best, the cream of the crop, and you have to work with them and train them and develop this. We have to reform this culture. We're not going to import our way out of cultural decline.
I look at it from an altruistic standpoint, right? The idea that these countries the people are fleeing them coming here because there's opportunity, right? Or they're brought over with opportunity. These countries not emerged, and they're coming here because their countries have not. The ultra side of me says, if we're scalping the best and the brightest, they will never have their moments, right? These people have to take their way out of a hole, and we're taking their best shovelers. Me, what I think is let them stay there, let them develop their own countries, let them have their revolutions, build your own thing. And in the meantime, we can build our own thing. And wouldn't that be the best thing for everyone? To be self-sufficient, not rely on foreign aid. A disaster happens, sure, we can come together. We can help some country that was riddled with an earthquake or tsunami or whatever. But in the meantime, fix your own homes.
Well, I mean, there's got to be, first of all, there has to be a motivation to do that by the countries you're referring to. I think that, like, if we're actually talking about people that are high skilled, that are like the cream of the crop, if they want to come to the United States, I don't think there's a problem with it. But at the same time, they shouldn't take job. It shouldn't be at the expense of Americans looking for work. So if there are Americans that can fill these jobs, the Americans should get the opportunity first. The idea of a lottery system, that's a terrible idea. The people that come to the U.S. there shouldn't be like a lottery, like, hey, you lucked out, you're the lucky guy that gets to come. It should be we identify someone that has a particular skill that.
Yeah,
pardon me.
That's what the O1 Extraordinary Persons Visa is.
That's what it should be.
We submitted a 150-page legal brief and I needed 10 recommendations from different people in the media. Submitted work samples. And yeah, you have to prove the case that, okay, this person's actually extraordinary. And actually, my letter to Immigration Services was like, the H-1B gets exploited by massive companies, and we're a small media company, and he will have an outsized impact on our output, the quality of our output. And that's, there's also a minimum. So each, the bar for what the starting wages for that industry is higher. So, it's not also like you're just able to get cheap labor.
Yeah, I don't have and the people that are like, oh, let's shut down immigration. I honestly don't have any kind of moral problem with shutting down immigration to the U.S. except for, what was the program you're talking about? O1?
The O1, yeah.
Except for O1 visas. That's fine with me. It's not like I'm like, oh, we need to have these people come in. We need to go ahead and make sure that there are people that can get us on. You could shut down all immigration and I wouldn't lose a bit of sleep. Right, it doesn't matter to me.
There is an argument to be made that the shutting down of all legal and illegal immigration to the United States would bring the economy to a halt. And I mean, obviously, it's hard to. Okay, so.
So my point being, there are people that make a moral argument about it, because most of the people on the left, they're making a moral argument. They're like, it's wrong, it's racist, it's bad, blah blah blah. So so I'm not making an economic argument. I'm not talking about the economics of it. I'm talking about the moral side of it. There's nothing immoral about the United States saying we're not taking any more people until the people that are here assimilate. Now, if there's an economic need for them, then that's an argument you could make that says, oh, these people are going to be a benefit to the economy. Fine. I have no problem with that kind of immigration.
I don't care about, I hate that argument. I absolutely despise that argument. Sam Hyde had an amazing video. Did you guys see Sam Hyde's video on this one? Dude, what really bothers me about these libertarians, we're also having some libertarian who's going to come on and debate H-1B and other issues in a couple weeks. My friends, everybody out there listening, I do not care about your economy. That's it. You want to come to me and say, hey, Tim, if we do this policy, we're going to see numbers go up by this much. I'm going to be like, don't care, because I'm a guy who's happy living in a van down by the river so long as I have a couple chickens outside. You know what I care about? Easiest example. Waking up on Christmas morning, running down the stairs, snow is falling. I know not everybody lives in an area with snow, but this is my childhood. You go out, you look out the window, it's dimly lit. It's dawn. The snow is falling. The presents are under the tree. That is unquantifiable. And that's what Sam Howe was saying. Some things are unquantifiable. I care about the traditions of this country. I care about the things that I experienced as a child that I love and enjoy, that I want to persist. And this libertarian ethic of, as long as the numbers are good, it's a fine policy is insane to me. This is why I get along with libertarians very much so on the anti-war stuff. But in this regard, y'all are crazy. And so this is what ends up happening. I said, I despise free trade. And then this one dude's like, telling me you don't understand economics without telling me you don't understand economics or whatever. And I'm like, this is the libertarian argument. Free trade, but we make money doing it. And I'm like, yeah. And then we outsource industry and kill culture.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened with, Bush initiated NAFTA, and then Bill Clinton perpetuated those free trade policies and signed with the WTO, basically opening up trade with Asia, doing the same thing that we did with NAFTA globally. And so the Democrats, you sell a bunch of jobs overseas over the course of 20, 30 years as a uniparty, then you're going to have consequences.
Let me tell you guys something. Right now, I skateboard, right? Right now, what region of the planet do you think is biggest for skateboarding?
Brazil.
I was going to actually say Brazil.
Brazil's good, but no. But it is funny that you didn't say, I don't know, the United States, considering that's where it's from, and Southern California is supposed to be the skateboarding.
Don't say
right?
China.
It's Southeast Asia.
Really?
Yeah, it's largely Japan. They've got reality TV shows. They've got sporting game shows called Caso. They're launching content hubs. The best athletes in the world. One of my buddies is a pro, and he was saying that it's like when you watch the latest competitions, it's all just like what 15-year-old Japanese kid is going to beat which 15-year-old Chinese kid. And I'll tell you exactly why this is. It's because we outsourced all the manufacturing of our skateboards and our products to China. China built an industry around making skateboards. It became prominent in Southeast Asia. And the United States, it's completely dead to where the biggest manufacturers have fled the country and aren't producing content anymore. And so, not to get in a whole tirade about skateboarding, it's one example. And these libertarians are like, but we all make money. And I'm like, yeah, you make money for 6 years until you've completely extracted every job and every expert, and they're no longer teaching kids, and kids are no longer getting involved. And then when they grow up, what do? So I'm talking to my buddies, and I went to Chicago over the holidays, and a couple of my buddies from back in the day, we were hanging out. And I said, as we were walking downtown, new construction, I said, wow, look at that stair set. That's what skateboarders do. And I'm like, where are all the kids at? And they were like, bro, kids don't go outside anymore.
Yeah.
They sit in their room depressed on the internet all day on social media scrolling TikTok. And I'm like, this is a component of what happens when you open things up, sell off all your jobs. People don't realize. They think that, especially these leftists, liberals, they think that money is food. They think that money is energy. They don't realize it's just a representation of your labor. And these libertarians too, they don't realize that when you outsource your jobs, when you import laborers and you leave American workers behind, you're giving yourself a good 10 years before your entire system completely collapses due to people who have no culture, who are bored, depressed, and nobody can do the jobs anymore. So I'm sick of this. I'm sick of that libertarian.
Riot Diet is printed in the United States.
Good. All of our Boonies
American.
HQ boards are made in the United States.
There we go.
It's more expensive to do. And so somebody tweeted at me when I tweeted this, and they said surfboards used to be made in the United States.
Yeah.
And local wood shops that would make surfboards would hold events in the park. Or at the beach or whatever. And they tell everybody, come down, check out our new surfboards. And then families would be like, oh, let's go look at the surfboard thing. That the people who make the skateboards, the surfboards, their kids would come, learn from their dad how to make a surfboard. Yeah. And you had generational surfboards.
Yeah.
Hand-shaped.
Now it's all machines.
You had a dad with 3 sons, and each of those sons knew how to surfboard.
The Takeyamas. I have a Takayama.
And then what happened? This is what someone tweeted at me, because I don't know surfing. He said, now it's all being made in China.
It is, yeah.
All these companies are gone.
Yeah.
You said the exact thing I was going to come up with. We don't have a generational mindset.
Yep.
We have lost the ability to see past ourselves, to see our grandkids. I like planting trees. The things that I do, the things I'm setting up for grandkids, great-grandkids, I'll never meet, because it's important to me that when they grow up, they have the idea of what I thought America should be left for them. I think we should be the first generation that leaves it in a better place than how we found it.
But let's talk about what it means to be a better place. And that's the crux of the argument, is these individuals who are arguing that so long as we're at 3% growth, it's a better place. I say BS. BS. When we have kids who can experience a Christmas morning, and not everybody has to have Christmas. You can have Hanukkah. You can have Kwanzaa. I don't really care. I'm just
saying.
Why
Hanukkah though, Tim?
Because it's another holiday event.
Sorry.
Those are the ones we have. Yeah. I don't care what you celebrate.
For me, you just tell us that you're selling out to the Daily Wire.
I have matzos in the other room. But you know what? As this nation had been predominantly Christian, we have a tradition of Christmas, and I don't care if someone celebrates something else. But the idea that you can import an entirely different culture that doesn't celebrate these same things, that doesn't have a same reverence for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of
Commercialized
assembly.
holidays.
I don't care. Yeah, absolutely. I like you go to the mall and there's a Santa Claus and you tell them what you want and it's funny. It's fun traditions. There's no number here. So how do you leave this country a better place? In my opinion, it's more Christmas. And I'm only using Christmas as one example. It's baseball and it's apple pie.
Yes.
Whatever you think. I like when people watch the Super Bowl. I think it's fun. I think the ridiculous Super Bowl commercial nonsense, I think it's fun. These are things that are inherently American.
What about like the satanic halftime shows? What about those?
Yeah, see, that's where things are falling apart. And this is their weird attempt at trying to make
Justin
some mixed
Timberlake
bag
and
culture.
Janet Jackson.
Yeah,
They ruined America.
That is when it started, right there.
I'll tell you this. I'll say this.
Boom. Then you have an insurrection. That's what happens.
You guys know about the grooming gang story blowing up in the UK?
Yeah.
We're going to save this one for the members only because it's so horrifically graphic. I don't want any kids out there who may be listening to stumble upon this. And I want to stress this. Everybody says, Tim doesn't want to swear because of demonetization. No. In the early days of the show, we swore. People emailed us saying, hey, I put the show on my TV and my kids are in the room.
Yeah.
Please don't swear. I said, okay, we'll try to make it top-level news and we'll keep the crazy stuff. But the story out of the UK with the grooming gangs, my understanding is that somebody took a transcript from the trials. Michael Malice tweets it out, saying he didn't understand the depravity. People don't understand. This story is so absolutely horrifying what these gangs were doing to 13 and 12-year-old girls. We're not talking about grooming. We're talking about torture, like hardcore torture. Now, I'm not going to get into full details. We'll say for the members only, where it's not so family-friendly. The point is, the story now being reported is that politicians and police intentionally covered up the mass gang abuse of children because they wanted to persist a narrative that multiculturalism worked. That is absolutely insanity.
Yes, they'd rather keep their jobs than stop this atrocity.
They'd rather keep their ideology.
They're terrified of being called racist.
Well, the FBI cooked the books
Absolutely
too, right?
terrified of.
Wasn't like, I mean, you can say what you want about like ethnic classifications, but they certainly they lumped in Latinos as white, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, they've always done that.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about let's get back to the news here because we do have some.
I'm
big
Italian,
news.
so I mean,
We got guys.
basically Latino.
UFC. Dana White is on the board of Facebook. It's big news. Okay, but first, from ABC News, Justin Trudeau says he'll resign as Prime Minister.
No.
It's the end of the Castro legacy.
Oh no.
This goes to this is like I made this point earlier. Like overall, the behavior of governments in the West during COVID is largely frowned upon by the populations. How they acted, like they're sick of
It's
it.
almost like
Yes,
if you
but
lock people in their houses for no
you-
reason.
You guys know why Justin Trudeau's resigning?
Because even Canada's like Indians.
Because Donald Trump.
Was it the blackface scandal?
It wasn't.
He was also a sheik.
Let's keep listing all of the scandals Trudeau's been involved in because the answer is no to all of them, which is insane. Donald Trump nuked Justin Trudeau. This all started with the Trump threat of tariffs, and then it was Chrystia Freeland, I think her name is. I don't know much about Canada. Got into a fight with Trudeau over it, then resigned. He wanted to move her out, saying no. Trudeau cowardly against Donald Trump. Did you guys see the story?
We went to Mar-a-Lago, right?
Yeah, did you hear the story that Ben Shapiro
Kiss the
told?
ring.
Ben said it was something like Trump goes to Trudeau and says, "What's the one thing that I could do that would destroy your economy?" And Trudeau said something like, I guess if you put a tariff on our goods, that would.
Oh, you wouldn't want to do that, eh? Oh, you don't want
And
to
then
do that, eh?
Trump said, "There's the number one rule in negotiations is never answer the question, what is the one thing I could do to destroy you? Second thing is I'm going to put a tariff on your cars and destroy your
He was
economy."
like, don't put the tariffs on the hockey sticks. Just don't put the tariffs on the hockey sticks.
Not the maple syrup. So
We want the north side of Niagara Falls.
That just goes to show how terrible of a leader Justin Trudeau is. Like how bad, like literally walked into Donald, like the trap that Donald Trump set.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
It's
his
not
father
just
wasn't
that.
great either.
Correct. And his uncle,
Yeah.
also bad.
It's the art of the deal.
Well, and both figuratively and literally, to be honest. That being said, Donald Trump's threat of tariffs prove a few things. One, like you mentioned, Trudeau is a terrible leader, and I don't even know how he made it as long as he did. It's been since 2015. It's almost 10 years. But the other thing is, it shows that U.S. presidents have been propping Canada up to the detriment of the American people.
Yeah, the United States.
If the Canadian government cannot stand without us giving them freebies,
invade.
No, I think we don't want Canada.
I got some oil up there.
No, North Puerto Rico.
I want the America's hockey team to be as good as possible.
So long as it's a non-voting territory.
Yeah, make them
North
a territory.
Puerto Rico. Exactly. Yeah.
You don't give them the right.
We need to annex Canada before a Canadian team wins the Stanley Cup.
How about this? If we do invade Canada, we'll surround its government and isolate it, and then not let it be part of the rest of the United States. So we'll just control the territories by conquest.
We'll bring it full circle back to the old insurrection. When in War of 1812, that's why Washington burned, because we were off trying to.
We almost took Montreal, bro.
Yeah,
we already control Canada. Clearly, because Donald Trump just made their prime minister resign. If tariffs are going to destroy their economy, we already control them. So we don't need to do anything other than use soft power and threats of tariffs or threats of economic pressure to make them comply. There's not enough of them to actually be able to produce enough goods and services to put them in a position where they don't need the United States. They've forever relied on the United States for their defense. The United States is 100% is what protects Canada. Even though they're like their own country, they are absolutely at the total, they will bend to the United States will every single time. Like Justin Trudeau tried to go ahead and stand up to Donald Trump a couple times and make it seem like, he was in charge. He wasn't. He never was. Canada doesn't have the ability to stand up to the United States. If the United States really wants something, they will comply.
Yes.
They're already a vassal state, period.
They must also know that a lot of their citizens are probably looking at like, you mean I could be an American? These people have had their guns taken, their freedoms taken. And I think a lot of people like this, that sounds actually great.
I'll tell you a funny story.
Make it North Dakota. Just extend North Dakota.
I think I was in Toronto, and a friend of mine who's Canadian was like, did you know that Toronto is the most diverse city in the world? And I was like,
more diverse than New York?
I was like, really? Is that true? And I looked it up. It's not. And I was like, it's actually majority, but they like to say this.
It's like Portland.
Because it has more immigrants than any other city or something like that. They're using some twist of, reasoning to justify how they're claiming this. And I'm like, actually, it's majority white. And they got really mad at me for saying that.
No, it's Quebecois. There's Quebecois there.
Very, very white.
They're Martha's
place.
Vineyard.
But this is the thing about Canada. We can make the argument that Canadians want their guns and their speech and all these things. Look at the trucker protest. But Canada has imported a ton of migrants from all over the world into their cities to create this multicultural place. And now it's dominated by a liberal government that falls the moment Trump says, I'm going to tax you.
They live completely and totally at the pleasure of the United States.
Yes.
This is where we're going to. We will be much like the UK and Canada, unless things turn around. It's looking like with Donald Trump coming in office, things are going to turn around. But understand, man, it's real simple. I have heard this. I haven't fact checked it, so correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if people who are listening want to fact check this. That during the Biden administration, 15 million people came into the United States, which is the largest migration of humans in the history of humanity. Now, you can make the argument it's like only because of population growth that could happen, because when there's only 50 million people, there's no way for a migration that big to happen. But either way, that's crazy if true. I don't know if it's true or not. The point is, you bring people in and promise them free stuff. Your government can only be sustained by continually bringing people in and offering them free stuff, which means 2 generations, your entire country will collapse.
Yeah, we went to McAllen, Texas, and Jorge Ventura and I in March of 2021, right after Biden took over, and literally took the drone up, saw everybody coming in through the gaps in the wall, and then you see them on the ground, and you say, hey, why did you come here? And they all said, well, Joe Biden is president. Literally every single one that we talked to said, yes, we knew that now that Trump is out, we can come. And so, I think a lot of the blame gets placed on the people who make that trip. But it's like when you give them an open invitation, then what do you expect?
Yeah.
So it's like it's the policies that are creating the problem, and not to mention the amount of human suffering and sexual assaults that take place over the course of that journey from South America. But we met, like, not only over the course of those 4 years going to the border, you saw the diversity of the migrants change from mostly Central Americans, Hondurans, to then Venezuelans, Colombians. And then the last time I went in October of 23, it was like Afghanis, Ghanaians. They all come over in container ships into Brazil, and then they come up through the Darien Gap. And it was just like everybody from all over the world, and you have no clue. These people drop their IDs at the border, so you have no way of vetting who's.
So I did a quick fact check, and the partition of India was 15 million people migrated between India and Pakistan. So if the number is truly above 15 million, you could argue that it was the largest. There was tens of millions between the 1800s and 1900s, the European migration to the Americas. Yeah, but that was over a long period of time. 13 million Syrians were displaced, but did not migrate to any specific one location. And in World War II, there were massive refugees, but once again, not any one group moving to any one location or entering one location. And so I suppose the argument is better that the large migration would be the partition of India because it was specifically Indian people moving to Pakistan. And then as for the U.S. mass migration, it's largely Central Americans, which is from different areas coming into one place.
Yes.
So if that's the case, 15 million, so the estimates range from 10 to 15 million, it would be one of the largest mass migrations in history. It's possibly one of the largest, but we don't have the exact numbers.
Top three.
Yeah, potentially within the top 5 is fair to say, but top 3 perhaps. Yeah. Which is still absolutely insane.
And it was all an intentional policy by the left, of Democrats.
Well, and we saw the border wall. So when we first went down there in March of 2021, we talked to the Border Patrol, and we're like, what's up with the wall? And it's just sitting in a parking lot, all these unbuilt portions of the wall. And they told us the construction crews were paid on their contracts. So they were paid to continue working, but then Biden said, cease all building of the wall, not another inch. And so they literally were just paid to twiddle their thumbs in their trailers for the extent of their contract. It's just like the most infuriating thing in the world.
The slower ebb of migration to our country in the past 2 decades, right? It was a little lower than this. I mean, a lot lower than this, right? I don't think people really saw it as an issue. They're like, yeah, it's a few more people here. North Carolina had a massive hurricane, and FEMA ran out of money.
Yeah, and then they said $30 billion for a wall. Wow, that's way too big a price tag. $150 billion. They just
anytime Democrats
how much illegal immigration is.
Anytime Democrats say that it costs too much money, it's all BS. The United States prints the dollar. If it wants to fund a program, they just print the money. Democrats only care about things when it is functional for them to use as a reason to oppose it. They don't have any principles. They don't care about actually being fiscally responsible. The only time they talk about too much money or whatever is if it's a policy they don't like. It's always BS.
Yes.
Always BS.
What was the vote that came out? Democrats, 156 Democrats voted against even getting rid of the...
In the UK, too, wasn't it? Like they had a similar vote? There was a vote to deport illegal immigrants convicted of sexual abuse. And 156 Democrats, I think, said no.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, surely we can all agree that is a bad thing, right? What about the whole Me Too movement? Have we moved on from that?
They don't care.
I believe
they don't
all
care.
women.
I
believe
asking
all
for a
women.
modicum of consistency.
Want to put that on the record.
Don't. They will never be consistent. It is all BS and power for the left.
I was watching this movie called Blink Twice. Have you guys heard of it?
No.
It's a horror movie. And when we were out, I was hanging out with Allison, and we're like, let's watch a movie, and we're on Amazon, and then we see the description, and it's like, strange things are happening on an island, and then I'm just like, instantly I knew it was going to be some weird woke garbage. And then I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this. It's going to be the story about a black woman who's attacked by white guys. And it's not a bad movie, but it does have a couple woke elements in it. If they just didn't do that, it'd have been fine. Like, it doesn't matter that the main character is black. None of that matters. What matters is that at one point in the movie, she screams she can't call the police because the white men won't believe women, and no matter how many times women scream "believe women," men won't listen, and these white men would rather play golf with them or some other
Yeah,
nonsense.
I'm a white man and I believe all women, so I just debunked that whole thing.
Did this happen
like,
on an
oh.
island? It wasn't in England. Wasn't in
Never
London.
believe anything a woman
No,
says.
it was in the Caribbean. Actually, but the movie's a fine idea. It's got Channing Tatum, Christian Slater's in it, and it's basically about. I'm going to spoil them. I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but it's not a bad movie. It's just really annoying when right in the middle, it's like, hey, we have a plot hole. She's being attacked. Why doesn't she tell the cops? Oh, because the cops are racist and don't believe women. Perfect. Write that in. And then she yells about it. And I'm like, ugh.
We were talking about this earlier. It's the we miss the suspension of disbelief. We watch movies for this, right? Watch sports. I want to zone out. I want to watch a movie. I want to watch the fights. I can't even do that anymore because there's always something implemented in the middle of it that pulls me back into reality. Like, oh yeah, that's what's going on in the world.
Okay,
I want Bruce
Denzel
Willis.
and Gladiator though. Denzel and Gladiator.
In the new one,
It's not a good movie.
Gladiator 2.
It's not a good movie, but Denzel is. It's funny because like everybody has like kind of like that pseudo.
Are you talking about Gladiator
Yeah,
2?
Gladiator 2. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't see
And everyone has like that pseudo accent, like, oh yes, we are in the Roman Empire right now, and then Denzel's just like, okay, we got some gladiators. It's so funny. You guys want to fight with some swords?
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'm fine. I want to see
It
Bruce
was
Willis
great.
duct tape a gun to his back and then scream "Yippee-ki-yay." You know what I mean? Like none of it makes sense. Okay, but I don't care. We're here to have fun.
Well, that was like Maverick, right? Like it was the Top Gun movie with Maverick. Like there wasn't a whole lot of substance. It was just awesome Americana.
But
It was
and
Star
it
Wars.
did really, really well. Right.
They did Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
but-
liked it.
But they should have made a bad guy. I don't understand why they were like the enemy. They didn't want to say the Russians or the Chinese or anything like that. I'm like, who cares? We do it all the time.
Well, you get banned in China. If you get banned in China, then
Right.
you lose hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's why they didn't do it because they were like, we want to market in Russia.
All right, you ready for this Quentin Tarantino tangent right here?
Sure.
Okay. So, Once Upon a Time in Tibet was the first movie to get really banned in China. That big money movie that lost hundreds of millions of dollars by getting banned in China. It was like 97. Brad Pitt was the star of that movie.
7 years in Tibet.
7 years in Tibet. Is that what I said?
Yes. You said Once Upon a Time.
Sorry, 7 years in Tibet. Yes.
Anything in
And
Hollywood.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Brad Pitt is the stuntman who beats the crap out of Bruce Lee.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Quentin Tarantino knew that was going to get banned in Hollywood, in China, and he did it anyways. As like that, he used Brad Pitt for that specific reason.
Oh, very funny.
Yeah, that's
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump to this next story from the post-millennial breaking. Donald Trump Jr. travels to Greenland as President Trump continues to explore U.S. ownership of the territory. It's happening, dude. Look at this. Greenland leader calls for independence from Denmark as Trump enters. Greenland,
They added sled teams though. Denmark said they were bolstering their sled.
and they
sled
changed their
dogs.
coat of arms to put.
No
put
joke,
Greenland.
dude. They said that. They're like, we are sending 2 more sled teams to bolster the security.
It's over.
Like, dude, that place is
Dude,
the size
guys,
of
Greenland is
I hope
ours.
so.
2 sled teams to
listen,
cover
listen.
Greenland. We are
people-
taking this very seriously.
It's very difficult to get to Greenland. Okay, there's the flights exist. It's possible you can go there. There's a very small population. They're not gonna like. I got to be honest. You got this beautiful Chad, United States, or this Virgin Denmark, and this buxom Greenland. Who are they going to pick? I mean, come on. Let's just play it this way. You're young, and you sugar mama or sugar daddy, and one, it's a small, I don't know, Baltic nation. And they're okay. I mean, it's got its wealth and everything. And then there's the United States, the wealthiest nation on the planet. The richest person you know is being like, nah, dump that person. Come with me, and I'll. It's like a job offer.
He's gonna put Trump Tower there
high
too.
school all
That was-
over again.
remember he did
That
the
meme was
he
great.
tweeted that. Yeah.
I wanted to
good
happen.
meme.
As an aside, the United States acquired the U.S. Virgin Islands from Denmark in 1917, and it was $25 million in gold coin.
Wow.
Is what they cost. So I don't know what if it's significantly more for Greenland, but I think the U.S. should.
I think that's how much Epstein paid for Little St. James there.
Yoink.
So like, if you
All I
could
heard
tell
was
us
gold standards
anything-
coming back. I'm sorry.
Look, the reason that the U.S. Virgin Islands were actually good for the U.S. is because they're strategic. They allowed the U.S. to have naval bases to help defend the Panama Canal and et cetera. So they were valuable too, even though they didn't have the same kind of resources.
I mean, it's tremendously valuable for the United States. I mean,
We need it.
extremely strategic. Look at it puts us very close to Iceland, to Northern Europe, to Russia, the Arctic Circle, all that stuff. And right now, what is Denmark really doing?
Buy it. We need it.
Let's take it.
I
Let's take those sled dogs down.
population as of 2022 is 56,000.
You can send Christy Noam.
Call the Federal Reserve. Tell them to print up the money. We need it. Buy it.
Go Old Yeller on there.
What's Denmark?
Entire
listen,
army.
what does Denmark do if Greenland votes for independence and then votes to join the United States as a territory?
They speed skate right over there and they
They
try
do
to
nothing.
secure everything they can.
They do nothing.
They do nothing at all. Because the United States is the muscle of NATO.
Oh, they make some more chocolate.
Just like
even know if
Canada,
it's chocolate.
they do nothing. The United States makes moves and other countries respond. When you have a president like Trump, when you have a strong United States, the United States does what it wants, and it doesn't have to be dropping bombs or military. It can just be like, this is what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. And other countries are going to comply.
I actually like this idea because there are a lot of countries I will not go to because they will arrest me for things I've said on Twitter. So I like
like the
idea
UK?
I like the idea of being able to go to an island I've been to before and then hang out and not get arrested for mean tweets.
Yeah, I mean, the UK is once again threatening to extradite American citizens for saying naughty things.
I'm done.
What was the story? There was a kid who got a 4-year sentence for what did he do? It was mean tweets.
Yeah, they've thrown a bunch of people in jail for mean tweets.
Maybe we should annex Ireland. I've just been, I'm a Mick Guinness, and
I don't.
No, you don't want Ireland?
No.
No.
There's nothing good in Ireland.
Guinness.
The Irish
angry
can't even get along.
There's some surf up there. It's a beautiful place,
No. They
don't
put
know.
peat in all their scotch. No, thank you.
dude. You're talking to a
You said
Mick
Pete
Guinness
with
here.
a T.
What?
Pete.
Peat.
Pete, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Highlands don't. Lowlands, not so much. Islay is very much so peated
Wait a second, Mr. Pro America over here has Japanese whiskey.
because
just
it's
for the
better.
record.
Because it's better.
If it's good, it's good.
Yeah,
Wait, whose whiskey is that?
that's never mind.
That's mine.
Oh,
I always bring a bottle.
It's imported.
that was always allowed.
Oh, okay.
Nuuk, is that how you say it? The largest city in Greenland? List of cities and towns in Greenland.
It's ours now. We got to have
It
it.
looks
the capital.
beautiful. We can rename it.
Look up the sled dog headquarters. Where's that?
Oh, look at that. They got the Aurora Borealis.
We need it.
This city's Laura. This
I went
one's
to,
Eric Jr.
I went to Utqiagvik in 2023. That was fun.
Where's that?
You see, here's a funny thing, and this is a good story for all yous. We talked about the story when we came back for the year, but it used to be called Barrow, Alaska. Barrow. Back when the Americans settled it, there were a bunch of people already there, but those people largely didn't really care. You live on the ice, you hunt whale. There's no trees because it's in the Arctic Circle and everything's just frozen mud. And so it gets. I don't know exactly the history, but it gets named Barrow. The United States gets Alaska. They say this is Barrow. It's the northernmost point of the United States. There was a vote to change the name to its original Utqiagvik. That's what the natives referred to it as. And most people there, at least this is what I was told, they were fine with the name Barrow. But a handful of activists went and voted, and nobody else did. So the name is now Utqiagvik. Even though if you go there, locals say Barrow. That's how insane it is. People need to go out and vote. That's what's really annoying. I'm glad to see that people actually voted for Donald Trump.
Activists are the worst.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, they win because they're active.
Fists.
That's right.
They're awful people.
They are.
So what are we going for in Greenland? We going for oil?
Just take it.
I'll figure it out later in post.
Yeah.
Fix it.
I'm sure there's a bunch of things that are worth having. That we need it.
We need those 2 sled dog teams.
Isn't Greenland? Isn't that where they have like a lot of geothermal stuff?
I'm assuming.
Or is it Iceland that I'm?
Iceland has the
Yo,
black sand beaches.
That's Iceland.
Greenland's
My bad.
Hot springs.
Greenland's 2020 estimated nominal GDP is $3 billion. That's pretty small.
Donald Trump himself can buy
Per
it.
capita, that's not bad. It's
We might be able to
54K.
save Ukraine with that money.
$54,000 per capita.
That's
GDP.
not bad.
We need it. Buy it.
Wow.
If it does have any kind of geothermal activity, you can just set up a whole bunch of Bitcoin mines.
There you go, I guess. I think it's actually pretty likely. I mean, I don't think Trump Jr. is going there. He's set to visit Greenland on Tuesday after Trump expressed interest in exploring the possibility of U.S. ownership. Yo, Denmark's got nothing. If
Is
the
it a
U.S.
state then? Or do we just Guam it up?
territory, If the U.S. goes to Greenland and says, look, we'll provide you with $1 billion loan guaranteed once a year, they're going to be like, done.
Yep.
Development, research, exploration, jobs, they're going to be like, okay.
Yep. We need
Love
it.
Denmark's going to be like, but we'll give you speed skating teams.
Denmark's not going to do anything. They're going to be like, give us back Lars Ulrich, and we're going to say, take him. He's not even the best drummer in Metallica.
And then we're going to be like, is that it? And they're going to be like,
thank you.
we still want Greenland back. And be like, we're not talking about Greenland right now.
That is off the table. Greenland is America now.
Actually, I think more likely the U.S. is going to be like, we won't give you Greenland, but we'll give you Lars. And they're going to be like, how dare you? You refuse.
They're going to say, give us James. He's better at drums than Lars is.
He can drum in 3/4 and 4/4, 6/8 sometimes, 7/4 out of the question.
Oh, how
Unbelievable.
dare you? So Trump posted, I am hearing the people of Greenland are MAGA. My son, Don Jr., and various reps will be traveling there to visit some of the most magnificent areas and sites. Greenland is an incredible place, and the people will benefit tremendously if and when it becomes part of our nation. We will protect it and cherish it from a very vicious outside world. Holy crap. Dude.
It's ours now. Already ours.
And that will give us a staging point, a beachhead for our invasion of of Canada.
Wait a minute. What if we turn it into Australia? The new prison state. We just send everyone there. We take the green people out. We bring them in here. Good jobs.
green people?
The green people.
The green people. That's what we're going to call them now.
Greenlandians.
And we send the 15 million to Greenland. Build a wall around it. Australia Part 2.
Escape from Greenland.
Solves a lot of problems.
I mean, look, I've been advocating for the island for some time.
The island of
We sent them to Mexico, to Haiti, to Cuba, where they came from. They're to come right back over. Greenland, they're not making that trek.
Well, I've been saying that instead of the death penalty, just create an island and put people there and say, we're not going to kill you because killing is wrong, but we hereby agree not to be responsible for you anymore, so you go to the island.
So you shut down Gitmo, and then you just make all of Greenland.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Greenland is worth more than that.
Does it have oil?
We still haven't really determined what it has.
It
Other than
has,
sled dog.
We'll figure it out in post.
Geothermal.
It has geothermal activity.
You put some
mining
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, man.
Greenland is believed to have significant oil and gas reserves,
Boom.
particularly offshore.
There you go.
Yep.
Well, we can't do that because Biden.
We need to be
He's
reliant.
dead.
We need to be reliant on Saudi Arabian.
In case you
crude oil.
didn't know, he died months ago. That is just a corpse that they are wheeling around. Someone said that Biden
Dude.
released a statement. I was like, Biden didn't release a statement. That
So-
was
He said, "God damn it!" today.
I heard
Guys,
that.
So I went to Iceland a couple years ago.
He's in prime
And
form. Smart as a tack.
Iceland was very poor until they developed, invented geothermal energy. Now they have access to large amounts of energy because they tap geothermal. Now there's greenhouses, they're growing plants, and they're decently well off in Iceland. Greenland has untapped geothermal reserves and oil, and Denmark ain't doing nothing for these people. If the U.S. sends in industry and they build geothermal plants, the standard of living for people in Greenland is going to skyrocket. We don't even need to offer them money. We're going to say, no, we're not going to do anything. We're going to send in the oil companies, and then you're all going to be rich. And they're going
Just
to
don't let Dick Cheney get involved.
Bitcoin's over $100,000 again.
Would this be a workaround though? Because I know Biden didn't put that in. They said you have to actually get it approved through Congress to bypass what Biden did. If Greenland is just a territory, would that bypass his last order? Then you can drill.
Anything that any of Biden's executive orders, they can all be rescinded as soon as Trump goes in.
Well, Trump said he was going to do that. I thought it had to pass in Congress. There was something that
If I understand correctly, if it's an executive order, then the incoming president can make an executive order to undo it, and that's why executive orders are actually like a bad idea. You want to get legislation passed by Congress, you know. Well, they're not a bad idea.
You want to get massive omnibus bills with, we can train. I don't know, Afghan women how to do backflips with a beach ball.
What?
On their head. Yeah, $35 million.
Is that actually in one of the omnibus?
There's something ridiculous. Maybe it wasn't a beach
Always
ball.
something
Maybe
ridiculous.
it was something, some variation of that.
Always.
sound awful.
Don't fact check me out there.
You actually sold that.
You did sell it.
Yeah.
It was all right. But yeah, I think that the executive orders, they can just be rescinded by the incoming administration.
That was my understanding. I heard some pundit talking about it had to go through Congress for this. And again, it's Twitter, so.
It's the internet. You know it's true. I read it on the internet. No.
We got this. Let's pull up this story I just saw is breaking news from CNBC. Shares of Tencent fall over 5% in Hong Kong after U.S. designates it as a Chinese military company. Did the U.S. just do that? Designating Tencent? So doesn't Tencent own Discord? Or do they own like a portion of it or something?
I don't even know what Tencent is.
Tencent is the largest video game vendor.
Oh.
Yeah. This is crazy news. I don't know if I don't know that I know enough about Tencent to actually properly comment on this, but I didn't realize the U.S. had declared it a Chinese military company. That's crazy.
So it has WeChat. Tencent is best known for its messaging services such as Weixin and WeChat. So, I mean, I don't know much about Tencent, but I mean, if it's involved in these types of technologies, then it makes perfect sense that it would be a military contractor, you know?
What's going to happen with TikTok?
That's what I was thinking too. Because now Trump doesn't want to ban it just because he thinks it helped him, but I think that's silly. That's stupid. I think TikTok should get nuked.
A lot of MAGA influencers are heavily invested with their clicks, likes, and revenue streams through TikTok.
So here we go. Tencent has a majority stake in Riot Games. It's got a 40% stake in Epic Games. It's got a minority stake in Activision Blizzard. It owns 12% of Snapchat. It's got a 5% stake of Tesla. It's got a 15% stake in Glue. I don't know what that is. It's participated in a funding round for Discord. I don't know how much it means. And it raised $300 million in funding. Reddit got $300 million in funding led from around. Okay, Tencent. Okay, they weird. Strangely, Tencent gave $150 million to Reddit, according to Reuters and The Verge. And here we go. We actually have the story from The Verge. This is pretty nuts. Yo, this could affect Tesla. Let's talk about that TikTok ban, right? When they said that you can't have ownership, this would force Tesla to divest from anything held by Tencent. This is what people were warning about the TikTok ban. That if we say any company with ownership from these adversarial countries would have to divest, this would put Tesla, Riot, Epic, Snapchat, Activision, Discord, Reddit, all in this position where they would have to find new investors and sell the stake. That's pretty crazy. Look at this. U.S. designates Tencent and CATL as Chinese military companies. This is just reported today. Yo, that's pretty wild. Well, what do you guys think? Should we ban TikTok?
No.
So,
Put it in Greenland.
No.
It's cold there. It'd be good for the servers.
Well, TikTok is the only social media that the CIA and intel agencies don't have a backdoor into, right? This is China owned.
no, it's China. Yeah, just Chinese.
Yes.
The CCP has a backdoor.
I know, but I mean, I don't know.
I think that the United States. Now, I'm not saying that we should ban TikTok, although I probably could be convinced that it's not a bad idea. But the United States does need to look at the CCP as a serious threat. It's been there was just just yesterday I saw on the news that there's a Chinese person that was arrested for acting as policing other Chinese people in the United States. That's happened in Canada. I think it was in San Francisco. They had some of it. They had some of that kind of stuff happening in Boston. The whole balloon flying over the U.S. and the U.S. did nothing about it. I think the at least the Biden administration for sure has been entirely toothless when it comes to China, and I think that the U.S. really needs to take a long, hard look at the policies towards China. Because
Might have been some financial incentives there.
I mean, I think that's likely, but I do think that the U.S. there's a serious threat from China as a I mean they're an upcoming global power or rising global power.
You know, someone super chatted, Hal Gailey super chatted, under 18, no algorithmic feeds. Now, you got to go more than that. I think there is a real simple solution to a lot of these issues, and it's to treat social media the same as we already treat real life. By all means, go out into the street.
Stuff the nerds in the lockers.
If you
No regrets.
if you go out in public and hold up a big sign of graphic adult material, you're going to get arrested. It's illegal. But if you go on X and do it, they allow it. And there's kids on the platform. So either you're going to ban anyone under 18 from using any social media, and the only thing they can get is a curated feed from Netflix, YouTube, or whatever, Disney Plus.
Yep.
Or you arrest people when they post these things publicly.
Well, they had YouTube Kids, right? And that didn't turn out great. There was a lot of CP that was on that as well. Roblox, it's inundated with that. I mean, these evil will persist regardless what parameters you set and how much you want to limit their functionality. Florida, Louisiana, Texas, it's a handful of states that have now made it, you have to show your ID if you want to go on adult websites. You have to register with the state. Do I think that's a good solution? I don't want kids to have access to those things, but should you have to register with the state to access an adult internet site as a consenting adult? I don't know. I always struggle with how much power I want to give the government to regulate what I can and can't do as a free citizen.
I mean, that's the whole libertarian take of, you know, the government shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that. Like in principle, I agree. But if the power exists to be involved in these things, then the left's going to take it if the right doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think finding the
Like
companies
Teddy
who are
Roosevelt.
not setting up, so specifically for adult websites, they should have their own 2FA system where they're checking for VPNs, they're making sure that it actually is an adult that is registering with these things. I think you put it incumbent upon the companies that they want to be in business of this. It is one of the largest, most profitable industries. They can find some way to navigate this to make sure kids aren't getting on here. Make it incumbent upon them. Don't get the state involved.
Yeah, I don't mind that. You know, I just, like I said, I just think that as long as there is a power that is assumed the government has, if the right doesn't utilize it, then the left will. I think that the government, it should.
Yes.
I would love to see more
Isn't that
people
like a death
assume.
spiral argument, though?
Well, yeah,
where
it
the
is, but
government just gets bigger and bigger?
I mean, we're already way down the slippery slope, man. It's not
Oh,
like
yeah.
like if you get rid of the Commerce Clause and you get rid of the necessary and proper clause, then you'd have a different
Yeah.
How about-
argument or different discussion.
Instead
but-
of buying Greenland, we just sell California.
The slippery slope moves in every direction.
Yeah.
There is nowhere to stand. So when, you know, I'm tired of this argument where it's like, yeah, but if we, you know, if we censor, if we declare this thing to be illegal, the left will declare our thing illegal. And it's like,
they can do it anyway.
when you don't enforce your way of life, you end up with these graphic adult books in children's schools for 10-year-olds getting these graphic adult content. And then when we complain about it, they lie. And we are then forced into a political battle to try and pull the Overton window back the other direction. And the argument then is, but if you go too far, the slippery slope. Now they're saying that Obergefell, gay marriage, will likely be overturned because the liberals are challenging it. The argument is, and I don't know how likely this is, you're going to get some clerk in a conservative state who's going to refuse to sign a gay marriage certificate. They're going to sue and lose or win. It's going to get appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's going to say, we don't see why this is an issue for the federal government. Like Roe v. Wade, we think it should go back to the states. Have a nice day.
Well, Obergefell just says that they have to recognize marriage licenses, correct?
Yeah.
I'm fine
Isn't
with
there?
that for-
But isn't there a precedent because of isn't the precedent that they have to recognize driver's license?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, I
don't think it matters. The argument is they're going to say, why is the federal government involved in whether or not a state wants to recognize or not recognize a marriage?
Well, then the same argument could be made about driver's license. Why is it that California must recognize, you know, New Hampshire's driver's license?
Because those are a function of economics and infrastructure.
Interstate.
And marriage is a question of tax code, blah, blah, blah. The federal government can choose to recognize that, but there is there's another issue. The argument, like there's no correlation between a driver's license and a marriage license.
It's a license.
So what?
How about
So the argument that would be
license to love.
But listen, it's the
Driving a car is
argument,
operating heavy machinery, and marriage is tax code.
So the argument that is going to be that's the argument that's going to be presented to the Supreme Court, though. If it does go, if you go to the Supreme Court, they're going to say, well, how come we should you know, how come you will recognize? And the reason I say this is because there's an argument about firearms permits. How come the
this is
U.S.
exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
because there's a Second
You
Amendment.
should recognize my CWP when I come to your
but
state.
the point exactly.
Yeah,
the
but
point is
reciprocity, yeah.
No. Any requirement of a permit is an infringement on our rights, period. And the Supreme Court is derelict in when Kavanaugh said you can require permits. No, that's an infringement. Telling me I have to get permission from the government for my right is an infringement.
Yeah.
So there's no argument there.
But you're not going to have me saying that there should be it shouldn't be nationwide constitutional carry. That's what I think it should be. But the arguments will be made to the Supreme Court about
Sure.
the reciprocity
and the
of
point
marriage
is,
license.
the argument
driver's
being made
license.
right now is that the Supreme Court's going to respond much like they did Roe v. Wade and say this issue is not operating heavy machinery. It has nothing to do with permitted use of a large device which can kill people. It's a question of whether or not we apply tax code to two same-sex individuals. That is not a question for the federal government unless Congress passes a law about recognition or blah, blah,
Or
blah.
a constitutional amendment, or
Constitutional amendment.
So the questions that were brought up in Obergefell were, does the 14th Amendment require a state to license a marriage between two people of the same sex, one, and two, does the 14th Amendment require a state to recognize marriage between two people of the same sex that was legally licensed and performed in another state? So it's a licensing question.
Yes.
No, it isn't.
That's literally what it just said.
I know, but you're conflating licensing with specific things. There's a lot of things get licenses. You have a license to fish. My fishing license in Illinois is not recognized in Indiana.
The argument.
Just saying it's a
argument
license
is-
is not the point.
The point that I'm making is this was a licensing question.
Yes.
This was one of the
And
arguments in Obergefell was about licensing.
And it doesn't matter. Because the question is going to be to the Supreme Court, should the federal government be involved in whether or not a state will recognize a marriage? And the argument can be made the Supreme Court will simply respond the same way as Roe v. Wade and say it's not a role of the federal government.
Question that they're
Or
asking
of the
is,
Supreme Court.
Are all the states required to recognize the license?
I understand that. And the Supreme Court will say that it's not a question for the Supreme Court.
I think they
Maybe.
could say that or the other.
It could go
Yes.
any way.
Yes.
The point is we have a conservative Supreme Court that has already said Roe v. Wade was not a question for the Supreme Court. The states should decide. And then when they come out and say the federal government should recognize licenses interstate because they're marriages, they might say, no, that's not a question for the Supreme Court. Ask Congress.
Maybe. I think the argument that I can't predict what the Supreme Court's going to say, but I do think that the argument about licensing, the argument's going to be, well, we do that with driver's license.
We don't do that with fishing licenses.
Fishing licenses aren't the same thing as driver's license. Fishing license.
And driver's license is not the same thing as marriage licenses. You're
Fishing
conflating things that don't make sense being correlated.
Okay.
A gun license is not a driver's license. A driver's license is not a marriage license. A marriage license is not a fishing license. A hunting license is not a fishing license.
But the
These things
licensing-
don't work intrastate.
If you bring a licensing question to the government, to the Supreme Court, they're going to try to use, whether it be a fishing license or a gun license, the argument that the most obvious argument that they're going to make is they're going to say it's a licensing
and
question.
the point is, you have an argument as to why you think it may be, and it's immaterial to the fact. The Supreme Court may say licensing is all different. We're not going to answer a question over whether. In fact, I think from your point of view, the argument stands. They would overturn Obergefell under the guise of, if we are going to answer this question that all licensing from the state must be recognized by other states, that means all gun permits are hereby legal in every state, all fishing licenses are hereby legal, all hunting licenses, all licenses to paint your home, all licenses to permits to build your property. We're not going to answer that. That's a ridiculous can of
Electrician,
worms.
plumber, right?
Yeah,
Everything's
a
licensed.
lawyer. It means every lawyer can operate in every single state, but laws are different. They're going to say no. States must determine the within their own jurisdiction what they license and what they don't, and Congress will have to determine otherwise. So if I don't know where we're at with Congress, the point is the slippery slope goes in every direction.
I think what we're coming together, I think they would take that route, kick it back down to the states. It's kind of a Pontius Pilate, washing the hands. You guys figure this out.
Yep.
I'm not getting involved. I think what Phil is arguing is that if they do take this on the arguments that were the original argument for this, is that if it is a licensing issue, then all licenses should be accepted everywhere.
It's an insane argument.
Exactly. So I do think it'll err on the side of where you're landing. It's going to be that. But the argument that the license should be recognized everywhere, I should be able to have a gun everywhere.
Right. So for the issue of driver's licenses, this is the point about the slippery slope going in every direction. People say we have to let the left say whatever they want because if we ban what they're saying, they'll ban what we're saying. And it's like, okay, well, they've been banning what we're saying. They keep doing it. And then what happens is they operate under that Karl Popper meme of if you tolerate intolerance, intolerance wins. Therefore, we're going to ban everybody we hate. Yeah. And then we keep going, well, we're going to let them keep doing these things, advocating for psychotic, deranged ideology that puts children in harm's way. Here's a slippery slope. When you defend the free speech of the left, you get graphic adult books in grade schools. That's the slippery slope.
So the dissenting argument in Obergefell is exactly what you were saying. Chief Justice John Roberts Jr. wrote a dissent in which he argued that while same-sex marriage might be good and fair, a good and fair policy, the Constitution does not address it, and therefore it's beyond the purview of the court to decide whether states have to recognize or license such unions. So,
And what was the makeup of the court when Obergefell was passed? 5-4 liberal.
90s,
it
right?
was it was 5-4 liberal.
No, it was 2016, I think, wasn't it?
2016?
2014.
Let me see 1 second. It was. Where's the date? 2015, January 16th.
Holy
2015.
cow.
So yeah, it was.
And
it
now we
was
have a 6-3 conservative court
Yep.
that may go 5-4. But I believe that I think we have a very strong possibility that there's going to be a gay couple is going to file in Arkansas. Clerk's going to say no.
Yep.
They're going to sue. They're going to lose. They're going to appeal to a federal court. They're going to win or lose. It'll get appealed by either side of the Supreme Court. Supreme Court's going to say, as John Roberts already did, this is not a question for the Supreme Court. Ask Congress. We hereby overturn Obergefell.
because of the makeup of the court. I think you're right. I think I agree with that because that's already the argument that dissent made in.
And so this is the slippery slope. When you go in the direction of, hey, guys, like, I don't care that gay people get married, okay? Like, I know people who are gay and who are married, and I'm totally fine with it. Dave Rubin's a great example. He's a good dude. He's a friend. He's gay married, and he is against them putting this stuff in schools. You've got Gays Against Groomers, also friends of ours. I don't know if any of them are married or whatever, but they oppose this stuff in schools. But what happens is, the left as a large group ultimately moves in the direction of, as they state, their argument is, if a child in a school sees a teacher who has a picture of their gay married husband on their desk, the teacher should be allowed to tell the student. Well, if that's the case, if you're doing sex ed, the children have to be taught about gay sex. Otherwise, you're violating the 1964 Civil Rights Act. That's the slippery slope. So then we say, okay, whoa. No. That's gone way too far. And so we say, pull it back. And we did. We elected Donald Trump. And what happened then? He appointed 3 conservative justices. And now what's likely going to happen? Well, Roe v. Wade got overturned. That's the slippery slope in the direction. There is no point in human society where you stand still and say, this is the happy medium. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
I think we are very likely going to see at some point the Supreme Court's going to be made up the way it is for a very long time.
Yep.
Obergefell is likely going to get overturned. I just think that's as a high probability. But let's talk about this story here. We got this one from CNBC. This is huge news. UFC's Dana White joins Meta's board weeks before Trump takes office. Dana White is great. Longtime friend of President-elect Donald Trump, joining the board of Meta. Mark Zuckerberg said in a post that White has built the UFC into one of the most valuable, fastest growing, and most popular sports enterprises in the world. That is true. And they say John Elkin, the CEO of Italian holding company Exor and former Microsoft executive, Charlie Songhurst are also joining Meta's board. This is massive. Dana White is a friend of Trump. He is a Trump supporter. He is on the board. This is going to have a massive positive impact.
Twice as wide as Zucker.
Hey, man, Zuckerberg's been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think Zuckerberg's a
Different weight
UFC
class.
fan.
This is the
for sure.
best. So honestly, this is actually a great thing.
It looks like
I
a
do
pencil
jiu-jitsu.
neck
It's my
still.
hobby. And I can tell you that the majority of that environment, those people that come in there, they start very much like Zuckerberg does, right? Everyone wants to be a tough guy. You come in, you figure out that you get folded in 16 different ways, and you love it for some reason.
You realize that your cardio isn't as good as you thought your cardio was.
Exactly. And I think this could be a good thing for him. He is lining himself up with people who are probably centrists, populists, and he's going to learn a new way of life. I'm actually excited about this.
I mean, people are going to.
Zuckerberg started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like, that's what he was training, right? Mm-hmm. It spiked his tetestosterone. His hair grew out.
Got a gold chain.
Well, I mean, he did. But I really do think
Eyes became sentient again.
he's this scrawny tech bro. UFC becomes popular. He's got some friends who are like, let's watch the fight. He gets interested in it. He says, yeah, man, I want to do that. That looks fun. I'll get in shape. He starts training, starts building muscle mass, starts eating meat. Testosterone spikes, and now here he is putting Dana White on the board of Meta.
I mean, look, anything that could if he can be influenced by people like Dana White, I think that's a good thing. It's also like, I know that we're going to be all really critical of Facebook because of the way they behave for the past 10 years. But if this is another sign that Zuck is moving away from kind of being in bed with the government, I'd say good.
You know,
hopefully.
their solution to the whole thing is, and I know just through people who still run businesses on Facebook related to news content is they just were like, what's even the point of having political content on Facebook? So now news seriously, like news companies, the revenue on Facebook has just absolutely fallen through the floor because they no longer have they're just like, what's the point? The amount of moderation that it takes, the amount of headache that comes with, everything that happened with like the Hunter Biden laptop and all that. They're just like, well, why would we even monetize this? So let's just.
Well, I've been talking. So obviously, the new year is here, ad sales and all that stuff's happening. We've been talking to a bunch of companies, and we've often mentioned Facebook, which we underutilize. And the response from all the networks is nobody cares about Facebook.
Exactly.
There's no money.
Exactly.
It's a dead network.
It's a boomer network.
It's boomer memes and basically I don't know, elevated Craigslist.
10 years ago, it was the king.
I know. I mean, Daily Caller, that was where we made most of our video revenue.
Well, you know what it was?
Boomer crack.
Facebook started banning the companies that made money doing it. They started going after people who figured out how to monetize the platform.
Exactly. You figure out the algorithm, and then they game it, and then you're all of a sudden like, okay, well, back to the drawing board.
Facebook ended itself.
Which is completely stupid. Like one of the things that people like about TikTok, not that I'm pro TikTok, but one of the things that people like about TikTok is TikTok tells you with great detail of how to expand your reach. This is what you need to do if you want to be blah blah blah. And Facebook is like hides that information. They don't put your posts into feeds, and they do it on Instagram is where you see it mostly. But like it's like a big secret about how you can do stuff, and it's like, why are you making this difficult for people to use your platform in the way that they want to? Why aren't you? Everyone knows that TikTok is eating Facebook's lunch.
Yes.
Why is it that you're not doing that with your platform?
Because you have people in Silicon Valley who are completely detached from reality, and I know because I've dealt with those people running news business on Facebook. And
is it really that they're detached from reality?
We literally like.
No, is that why? I'm not saying they're not. I'm not saying you're wrong about them being detached.
Yes.
But is that why they don't think it's a good idea to let people know how to optimize
because they
their
think
reach
that they can be the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain and get away with it. And we had a dude like come down, and obviously Daily Caller is viewed, founded by Tucker Carlson, viewed as just an absolute trash tabloid by these people from Menlo Park in Silicon Valley. So this guy comes in from Facebook. We're at the Facebook HQ, which is like the most beautiful building in downtown DC. And he literally comes in, puts his feet up on the table, and he's like, "So you guys, you live in DC? You know what Congress is, right?" We're like, yeah. And he was the head of like standards and practices. He's like, "Well, think of me like the Congress of Facebook." Like as he puts his feet on the table, and we're like, this is kind of a legit power play if this guy is serious here. Like it was just the degree to which they look down their nose at conservatives on the platform was astounding. And it's at the same time, it's if you look at the top news outlets on Facebook every week, Daily Wire. It's all, New York Times is like number 10. So it is overwhelmingly a conservative platform.
And they set themselves on fire.
Yeah.
Maybe with Dana White joining the board, he might be like, hey, guys, stop getting involved like this and let companies succeed. Facebook's a really good example of overregulation destroying industry.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know how this is back to something we talked about earlier. I don't know how reliable this Twitter account is, but someone's it's at EXX Alerts is saying that Trump Jr. Says that Trump has a plan to buy Greenland. He has a deal worked up for the purchase of Greenland. So
should be interesting.
I don't know how.
But
is it going to work out better than Atlantic City? I hope so.
I hope so.
Well, I mean, Atlantic City's got problems.
Have you read Art of the Deal?
Specifically, New Jersey.
It's like the entire second half of the book. He just spends bragging about his projects in Atlantic City and how successful they are.
Yeah, but you know what Atlantic City's problem is?
New Jersey.
Gambling is legal.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Dude,
hey,
I bring this up all the time.
Hey.
We've got like 10 casinos within an hour and a half from where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got a casino right here too.
On your phone, even.
Yeah.
Sports betting, it's got nuts. So yeah, in like in the 2000s, there was no gambling anywhere. There was Indian casinos, there was Vegas, and there was Atlantic City.
Mm-hmm. Florida's blowing up too.
Yeah.
They have video.
Oh, bro, in
arcades
Miami, there's like
everywhere.
25 casinos. It's nuts. So Atlantic City was a booming. And then all the states started legalizing gambling. And then people were like, I don't need to drive to Atlantic City anymore.
It doesn't count as a casino if you can't smoke inside, though, in my opinion.
Do you smoke
Most of them
cigarettes?
abandoned.
I know Tim hates that. No, not
Oh,
unless I'm at a
bro, dude,
casino.
everybody hates it.
Not unless I'm at a $5 blackjack table. It's menthols all the
I
way,
can't get
baby.
people to go play the casino here because of the smoking.
Well, I'll go.
Sure.
Smoking.
But like,
Do they have a $5 table? Because I do $5 blackjack. No?
nope.
Oh, well.
15. 15 is the
Wow,
minimum.
that is way out of
They have a $5 promo table sometimes if you use their app or whatever, but I don't know if they have that anymore. But that place is like walking into it's smog. It's like walking into China. You're in Shenzhen. It's like just smoke everywhere. It's awful. You walk in for 5 minutes, you leave smelling like smoke.
Yeah.
And then the non-smoking section
old
only
days.
has slot machines. But the poker room's not smoking, so I play poker there.
God, I smoked for almost a decade, and I'm like 14 years quit now. I smoke a cigar like twice a year, New Year's and then July 4th.
Yeah, but cigars are different. You don't inhale those.
Yeah,
Exactly.
cigarettes definitely. You look back and you're like, oh man.
Dude, it is miserable. Like, so that's the only casino that allows smoking in the area, and they do it intentionally because they want to steal customers. Their attitude is like, if you go to MGM or Maryland Live or Horseshoe or what else we got out here? We got another Hollywood. If you go to any of those casinos, you can't smoke. But if you come to us, you can smoke.
I got a personal story. So my mother-in-law, and Susie, I'm sorry for sharing the story publicly, online, live. She used to smoke. She was like 35 years, smoked like a pack a day. And I can't stand the smell because I quit smoking. And the people who hate smoking the worst are the ones who used to smoke. So
I used to smoke. I miss it.
I had my second oldest ask her one time, "When do you get the hole in your throat, Grandma?" She quit like a week later. She's been
You reach
quit
level 20.
What is it, like a 3-pack a day Newports? Yeah.
Right.
But she's been quit smoking now for almost 10 years. She's got an app she tracks with the money she saved from quitting smoking. So proud of you, Sam. You did a good thing.
I'm not. You didn't do a good thing. Well, like if there's one like if a genie popped out of a magic lantern and said you can have one wish, be like Marlboros that don't give you cancer, bro. Taste the same, but they don't give me cancer. Give them to me.
Well, it's the activity, right? It's after you.
No,
eat,
it's the
after
Marlboro,
you
dude.
shower, It's the
No, it's the Marlboro. It's the cigarette. It's the nicotine.
My one wish for my genie is a cigarette that I can smoke in the shower. Waterproof
I want
cigarettes.
cigarettes that don't give you cancer. Marlboro Reds that don't give you cancer. That's what I want.
and a shower gun that fires even though it's soaking wet. Yeah.
I mean, that's most guns.
You know, anyway, back to the story. I do think trends like this and the shift, we're going to see a shift in social media, especially with this move, that is going to just vaporize what we know of as wokeness on the left.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
People are sick of woke, you know? So
What's
So
the
then
woke right?
what do the Democrats become?
Angry.
well, there's I mean, like we see the fight in the U.S. or I'm sorry, in the Republican Party, but there's also a fight going on in the Democrat Party about whether it's the progressives or the Democrats, and people like Richie Torres is the Democrat that's trying to slide into that, you know, actual.
Yeah.
Reasonable Democrat that's actually focusing on the working class and not about all the woke stuff, and so maybe that'll actually
They're going to rebrand, right? They're going to rebrand. They're in that season before midterms.
it's going to take more than just 4 years, but yeah,
Yeah.
because they still have to figure that the fight's going to go on for a while. Because woke there's a lot of people that make a whole lot of money off of you know, racial animus and blah blah blah. People like Ibram X Kendi and stuff like that. They make a whole lot of money off
Pastor
of that.
Ben, yeah.
So they're gonna fight to keep that to be the focus, and it's going to take a little time.
My concern is I believe they really are ideologues, though. They actually believed everything they said. They want that. They just didn't get it through this time.
I think you're right, and like Tim's idea of woke is the average kind of like person that is just listening to them. There is a small group of people that are ideologically motivated, but then the most of the people that you would consider woke don't have
they're
any
just
kind of
normies who don't
they don't have any kind of allegiance to an ideology. They're just doing what is politically correct.
Well, maybe they have their own
let's-
populist movement, right? Woke ideology. Now we're having ours.
So I will take this time to give you the definition of woke. There are many people who have tried to define it, and they all do it from a particularly myopic view. And I try to understand woke from every possible, like, what is the unifying factor of why this person and this person over here see this thing and say it's woke? This person over here says it's critical theory. This person over here says it's gay stuff. And I'm like, whoa, what's the overarching pattern?
Postmodernism.
It's not. It's cult-like adherence to liberal social orthodoxy.
But what is so
War
that
with
seems like
Ukraine.
that
War with
seems like
Ukraine is not postmodernism.
No, but when you say liberal orthodoxy, that
Yes.
seems to me to be an oxymoron because the definition of the word liberal would
Liberal,
imply that it's
big
not
L,
an orthodoxy.
big L liberal.
Yeah.
It's a reference to a political faction of individuals that unify around one political faction that we view as what liberal is. It's not the actual word liberal. In America, progressive and liberal have meanings, but there's colloquial understanding of what the words mean. So when we say liberal and conservative, we're not literally saying the true definition of a conservative who's conserving what traditional values. And when we say liberal, we don't talk about classical liberals. That's why we define classical liberal as classical liberal. So you can call it leftist or you can call it politically left social orthodoxy, but that's why you can have pro-Ukraine war, pro-feminist, anti-Israel. None of it makes sense other than they must be unified around what their social order says. The best example of this is the Jaguar commercial. Jaguar, you see how I said it? Where that commercial came out was called Woke by everybody. But there's zero politics in it. It's literally just goofy-looking art people. Why do they call it woke? Because it represents the cultural aesthetic of the left, of liberalism, postmodernist art.
Yeah.
So when they say, but James Lindsay says, he says nothing is more woke than critical theory. And I'm like, that Jaguar commercial had nothing to do with critical theory. It simply donned the aesthetic of liberals and it was deemed woke. Well, so when people say woke, they're referring to the liberal orthodoxy. And then when we criticize wokeness, there's an illogical adherence to these ideas that make no sense. Hence, when I mentioned that movie earlier, Blink Twice, and the woman says, we can't call the police because white men won't believe women. And we scream, believe women, but they won't listen to us. You go, that's not correct. That is illogical, and you are fervently adhering to this social concepts, the orthodoxy, despite it being false.
But don't you think
This is, real quick, sorry. This is why Blair White, who is trans, is not woke, despite being transgender. That's critical gender theory. Jimmy Dore, a socialist, is not woke. But what do you mean? He adheres to critical theory because they defy the orthodoxy.
But so I would argue that the Jaguar commercial is evidence of critical theory in that it takes all the archetypal ads for cars, guys driving big engines and fast car and the vroom vroom. But they break down all those paradigms. So
that's not the archetypal
it's a critique of the archetype. So but it's not. That is critical theory.
A good majority of car commercials are moms driving and pressing their brakes down.
And what about like a rock?
That's some cars. Yeah. It's not an archetype like you're talking about.
But Jag is like a cool, like fast, like.
There's no argument made in the commercial. No one politically states anything about oppression or anything. It was literally just people dressed in a liberal aesthetic.
I think woke orthodoxy is different because it was not clearly defined a few years ago because it was an ever-evolving idea. It's the NPC switching out. Now it's Ukraine. Now it's this. Now it's that. Mm-hmm. So the orthodoxy was a living, breathing embodiment, but now it's become so identifiable because now it is orthodox. There is a set.
I disagree.
Product of images that we see and we say, oh, that's woke, that's woke, that's woke. Jaguar commercial.
Yes.
You can look at it and say that's woke.
That's because it's the current cultural aesthetic. And so it does change. You are right. The NPC switching out the chip for the next chip. That's why it makes no sense when Hassan Piker says we have to support Ukraine, but then he goes, the military-industrial complex is bad.
Yeah,
You're like, wait,
I know.
because he's saying whatever.
That's where Cenk actually made the flip from Hassan.
But it's because woke people say whatever has to be said to align with woke, despite it's being illogical. So again, Blair White trans, but not woke. But that's critical gender theory. Jimmy Dore, critical theory itself, but not woke, because both of these individuals challenge the social order of liberals. So anything outside of that order is called far right. So it's like I can be a pro-progressive tax along with Steve Bannon. I can be moderately pro-choice, but against abortion at the point of birth. They say I'm far right. Well, I'm certainly not woke, even though I have many liberal views, because woke is when you adhere to them, to their whatever the chip is in the brain, that's woke. You have to adhere to whatever they say or you're canceled. And there is an aesthetic to it. There are ideas behind it. There are some ideas that are more common than others. But in the early days of wokeness, intersectionality was a core component. But now they're focused more on, critical gender theory.
It's less identitarian based upon, your ethnic boundaries is what you're saying, and it's more based upon
gender,
on your Lifestyle choices.
Race is still a component of it, but race has taken a backseat to gender. The big component of focus right now is gender theory. Hence, the Jaguar commercial looked very much in line with the non-binary aesthetic. That's what people say it's woke. It's the liberal aesthetic.
Okay.
But I think you get the point.
Do you want a hot take?
Sure.
We don't know what a woman is in the modern context because
Liberals don't.
No, we don't, because women in the modern world have, you have all these different waves of feminism, and you have all these women who are my age, who are, 30, mid-30s, and they've been sold a lie on, okay, I have to live, I have to go work really hard, be a boss girl, and then at the sacrifice of, the physiological clock that they have, right? So now there's a backlash against that, where young people are realizing that they have to rearrange their priorities, and we don't really know what a woman's role is per se in America today.
Well, I get what you're trying to say, but I don't think it's fair to say we, because
As Americans,
the average American would say it is
like a homemaker, I don't think the average American would say that.
that a woman's role is.
to be a
Yeah, I'm talking about us here. We say we. You say, America has destroyed the role, the feminine gender role. So here's the thing: they say they want to get rid of gender roles. You can't. There's either there is the masculine role and there is the feminine role. They exist. They will always exist. You can erase one of them, but simply shoehorning women into the masculine role doesn't change the fact that it's the traditional masculine role.
Yeah.
So go back 50,000 years. There's a masculine and a feminine role. Today, telling women to be a CEO is just saying for them to
Act
be masculine.
like a dude, yeah.
Yeah. It's not eliminating.
No, but
the
that's
binary, it's
exactly my
enforcing
point,
the
which is that
patriarchy.
we're now realizing how big of a lie that was like, oh, if you wear pantsuits, you're going to be happy, right? Or if you, spend 20 years toiling away at a law firm, then that's going to make you, that's the reward.
You watch Landman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that show.
It's just Billy Bob Thornton just rolling his eyes like,
What's his? I forgot the character played by Ali Larter, but she's like, my job.
the younger one or
his wife.
his ex-wife,
his current wife.
or his, yeah.
And she's like, my job is to keep my man happy so that he gives me money to buy stuff. And she's like, so she goes to the gym, she works out, she's like, we're building butts. And she's like, I'm going to make my man happy. Like, that's very much antithetical to what the modern American, would say is the woman's role. But like,
Well, Sheridan does tap in on that, and he's really
Yeah.
good at that. Like, that whole show is just like, Billy Bob represents kind of like, the American who's not in step with all of the modern times.
it's a good show.
And his daughter's like, I turned off the show though after his daughter was like, I'm gonna go sleep with my daddy. When she said that to her with her boyfriend in like the second episode, she like gets mad at her boyfriend. She's like, I'm going to sleep with my daddy. And she jumps in.
We got to go to Super Chats. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with everyone you know. My friends, at 10, we're going to go to the members only uncensored show over at timcast.com. Join us, become a member, because it's what makes the company operate. As a member, you are joining in our efforts to bring you real news, challenge the fake news narratives, and of course, you'll get access to our uncensored members-only shows, Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. If you just sign up right now for $10, there's a waiting period until you can submit questions, because we have to screen out the crackpot weirdos who are trying to basically come after us, screw up the whole program. But if you spend $25, you can jump the line. And there had to be some kind of gate, but it seems to work, and we mostly get rid of the people who are just trolling and trying to cause problems and ruin the show. So become a member, because it's what it's how we make all of this possible. And the bad news for all of you is that we did not sell to Jews, and so that means we do need money, because we're not being bankrolled. Despite the fact that people ran with that lie, then got mad at me because they said it was my responsibility to come out and debunk the lie. Man, I got to tell you. And then we launched Cash Brew franchising. We have dozens of people who want to open their own Cash Brew locations. And people are mad that I'm like, I had an announcement on the January 1st. Like, bro, we've been working on this thing for like a year. We built out this whole plan for like how to run the coffee shops, what they're going to look like, how we're going to assist, what the money gets. Andrew Gruel is amazing. He's leading the charge on this one.
Oh, love Chef Gruel.
Yeah, he's amazing. And we're super excited to be working with him on this, because he's the expert. And we did all this hard work, and we couldn't legally say anything. I was often like, we can't talk about it. On the 1st, we have a big announcement. And all of these crazy people who think the Jews are in charge of everything are like, Tim's owned by Jews and blah, blah, blah. They're nuts. And I'm just like, yo, you people are crazy.
Coffee cabal. The coffee.
I want to tell you guys, I hope all of those people who believe that insanity, and it's funny too because they're tweeting at me, and I'm like, guys, on Timcast IRL, I said it was 100% fake.
I mean, there were legitimate reporters who were
Yes.
insinuating that kind of stuff.
Are there legitimate reporters?
On Timcast IRL twice, I said it is not true, and then on the members only, I said 100% false. And people are like, why didn't you tell us it was fake? It's like, bro, you guys went nuts, and I said on my show it was not true. So the bad news is we don't have the Jew money, okay? Because we didn't sell to, and it's funny too because Daily Wire's not even owned by Jews. Like one guy is Jewish, but maybe we have your money. You go to timcast.com, you become a member. How about that? All right, here we go. Shane H. Wilder says, welcome back. It's 2025. Let's do this. It's great to have you back. I'm glad Raymond still has all of his limbs for now. And a shout out to Pop Culture Crisis, who reached 300,000 subs on New Year's Eve. Holy crap.
Good for that.
Pop Culture Crisis is getting too big. 300,000.
Time to sell them to the Jews.
I think we can get PCC to 1 million. I think we can do it.
Yeah,
I think we can get him to 1 million.
absolutely.
We're going to do a big marketing blast off for PCC. We'll see. We'll see. All right, we got Quantum Strange Cork says a woman was forced to admit that she lost an argument to a man today. Welcome back, Timcast. There you go.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Savage.
Wow.
There we go.
Good stuff.
All right, let's see. Gryphus says, welcome back and Happy New Year. My father passed away this week. If you could find it in your heart to donate to his memorial, we'd be forever grateful. Give, send, go. Eric Vanneman. Sorry to hear, brother. Sorry to hear. Jason Dixon says, shout out to Adam. Loved you on Roman Nation last night.
I was on Roman Nation. They are gentlemen over there. They were fantastic. A good interview, lots of good conversation, open conversation. It was fun.
He's a good
You know,
dude.
you know what we need? We need a velvet jacket, cigar, and whiskey gentlemanly show.
Let me know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hosted
Leather
by Lectern
chairs.
Guy. Leather chairs.
And a nice lectern.
Yeah, high
Really
back
nice
leather
one.
chairs, leather-bound books.
Monologue is from behind a lectern, and then you go and you sit down.
You pick up the lectern and then you sit down in the chair.
Open with a monologue, 2-3 minutes. Go ahead and talk about whatever's going on in the day, and then you go over and sit down in the nice
What if-
leather chairs.
We make a collapsible lectern that folds into the shape of a suitcase, and then you place it down, and then unfold it, lift it up, and then...
And it has like a bump stock.
So Kyle Rittenhouse has asked me to build him a lectern, and I'm building him one, and he's in exchange building me an AR-15.
Oh, how fun, how fun.
Yeah, lots of fun.
All right, let's go. Just because I'm free
comment.
says Trump shouldn't show up for sentencing. The city of New York is way too dangerous for Trump to show up in person. The judge and DA should be charged for violation of rights. I agree. I don't think Trump should go. I think Trump should just be like, I'm not going.
Yep.
What are you going to do about it?
Yep. I think this is a moment for DeSantis to be like, yeah, you can't take him.
Well, they said they're not going to give him prison. What if that's a trick? Trump shows up and the judge says, you know what? I changed my mind. 5 years, bang, remand. What's Secret Service going to do? So if Trump doesn't go and they're like, we're going to put out a warrant for your arrest, going to be like, good luck.
So this isn't a jury trial, right?
No, it's a sentencing. He's
Yeah,
he's
it's a
convicted.
sentencing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So the judge, this is the point where anybody in the world with 34 felonies is told you're going to prison. So here's the crazy thing. If they don't give Trump prison time, it shows the emperor's got no clothes. So wait, you mean to tell me you convicted a guy of 34 felonies and then you said, we're not no penalty. You just bang the gavel and get out of here. Who's going to believe it's real? They have no choice but to put Trump in prison. Otherwise, they're just proving they lied about everything.
Yes. I'm convinced they will put
that's
him in prison.
basically
if he
the
comes
last
back,
4 years in a nutshell. So.
You think they're going to put him in prison?
If he shows up, yes. I think he should stay home.
The question
he
is-
lives in West Palm. He should shut the bridge off.
The question is, why would they stop here? We talked about this a few months ago. Will they put Trump in prison? And I can't remember who was on the show. They were like, why would they stop here? And I'm like, that's a good point. Why would this be the one time they say we're gonna let Trump go? Every step of the way, they accused him of being a traitor.
How many
to this
impeachments are
country.
we going to have this time around? 2? 3?
Well,
What's the
I don't know.
over-under? We should check polling.
They don't got Congress.
It won't. Yeah, it won't. It'll be after.
Well,
the,
I mean,
And you know he'll brag about it
That-
too.
that
I'm
was
the
after the
most
midterm.
impeached president. No one's done it like I've done it before.
Only if he
Five
only if he
impeachments.
doesn't get removed from office.
I've been saying Teflon Don for 10 years.
We got Jason Dixon here. Says, Tim, can I get a shout out to Roman Nation?
Roman Nation.
One of the fastest growing streaming podcasts. Adam Lectern Guy was on it last night.
Good
Here,
guys.
here. Jason, I hope you have checked out our castbrew.com franchising section, because it would be rad if you were to open the first location. Now, here's what I want to say about all that. People are like, you're franchising before you even opened yours. Because in the process of opening our first location, what we were actually working on was the layout, designs, the aesthetic, the colors, sourcing product, all of these things that make a business. So we have the core elements of what the business foundation is, and then we have problems with our location due to it being a historical building. So the franchising is done, and now we're basically saying we're done with with West Virginia on this one, and we're going to probably open in a different place where we've got all the equipment, everything's ready to go, but they just wouldn't work with us.
We got a preview on like what the layout's going to be. Is there going to be a beanie logo like the Gregory's Coffee but with a beanie?
There is not.
Oh, not like a Starbucks, like a satanic siren.
No, but we have really cool 3D renderings and drawings and color schemes and all that stuff. And there's really cool designs for this. So if you go to Casper.com, you can click the button and learn all about it.
Okay.
And yeah, there you go. All right, we'll grab some more super chats. We already have, I will just say, I don't want to give out the exact number because I don't know the rules or whatever, but dozens.
What if you had a conversation cafe like they had in the Chaz to talk about politics and stuff?
That's kind of the idea. We want to open physical locations so that when you're going to Walmart or whatever, some soccer mom is going to Target to pick up, a pair of socks. She's like, I'm going to grab a coffee. And then she walks outside, and there in the strip mall is a Casper location. When she walks inside, there's a TV on the wall, and the TV's playing Timcast, or it's playing Crowder or Viva Fry. And it's on low volume, but as she's sitting there and she goes, I'll have an iced coffee with a little room for cream. As she's standing there, they're making it, she looks over, and there's Crowder being like, the Democrats are doing X, Y, and Z, and the Republicans are doing
Like
Y.
CNN in the
You know
airport.
it's going to be
Exactly.
Crowder dressed like a woman.
It's like seeing in the airports, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like a 60% chance of that.
Except everybody's all buzzed up on coffee.
We want this type of show and messaging to be in physical spaces all over the place, to get into the real world where people are out shopping. And then people are going to say, Cast Brew Coffee. I want a cup of coffee. They're not going to think twice. They're going to walk in. Yep. They're not going to hear music and soft whatever playing. It's going to be news shows and cultural shows. And that's the plan, man. And the people who are going to open them are people who like this show. And we're going to offer up support. It's like, imagine opening a business and you've got marketing. We're going to be shouting you out. I can't say too much because Andrew Gruel is basically the head of this one. He's like leading the charge. But I want to say, like, I fully intend to show up to these locations. I want to do Timcast IRL from these locations, special events, grand openings. We want to have a physical space where people can gather because the Founding Fathers organized a revolution by meeting in bars and pubs.
And chucking tea off of a boat.
That was basically it. They threw tea off a boat. They were like, "Yo, we don't agree with how you're doing these things." Then they said, "Well, now we're taking your guns." Actually, what they said was, "We're going to pass the intolerable acts because you threw our tea over and you won't pay for it." And they're like, "Screw you." And then they said, "We're coming to occupy, and we're going to occupy. You can't have guns." My cold dead hands. Then the British were like, "So be it." We don't know who fired the first shots at Lexington and Concord, but then everyone started fighting.
Yeah, election
And
was moved. Yeah.
a year and 1 month later, the Founding Fathers signed a Declaration of Independence. We were at war for a year before they even declared independence. People need to understand that. All right. Jacob Thomas Hickman says, bet you won't read this one, Tim Boy. You're correct. I won't. If you started a super chat by saying I won't read it, I'll just skip over it. But if you just literally wrote what you wrote, I probably would have read it. But I'm just kind of over the, I bet you won't read this one. Is it supposed to like trick me into reading it?
Thank you for the money, dummy.
You could have literally just
It's reverse
posted
psychology.
your
Hey, don't hate on the super chat.
Yeah, no, he gave a good amount of money. I'll read your super chat. He gave $50.
Read
Jacob,
the super chat. $50. He
says-
that super chat.
Trump lied about the infamous life-saving immigration graph. Pull it up and check the red arrow at the bottom. It points to January 2020 instead of 2021. This shows a massive spike in illegals. I don't respect the first sentence there, but I do appreciate the super chat, so I did read it for you. There you go, buddy. All right, Jacob Pauly says, I'm tired of the big corporations already hoping to ship to our side. I don't trust them at all. We need some good legislation against corporation, maybe a little bit of progressivism, Phil, MAGAism. We need Huey Longback. Let me tell you, this was always going to happen. They're flipping over because they knew they were on the wrong side of history. I predicted this. I told you. that people we don't like and trust are going to jump ship in 2 seconds when they realize they lost. What we need. Instead of going, oh man, Facebook, oh, they're figuring it out. We just say, nah, we're going to be on X. Instead of saying like, oh, did Starbucks finally change their tune? Nah, we're going to Cash Brew Coffee. Black Rifle has coffee locations as well. But I know a lot of people don't like Black Rifle over the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing. But I got no beef. I don't know. What do you guys think about that one?
I think a lot of that was overblown and blown out of proportion and misrepresented. So
Yeah, I don't know why the coffee is so political in that respect.
Because Kyle Rittenhouse was wearing a Black Rifle shirt,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they
they
denounced him
disowned-
and said, we have nothing to do with him.
And
Yeah.
and Kyle's cool with those guys now, if I understand correctly. Like they hung out and talked about it. So there's a lot of people that that are still cranky in the pants about it. You know, so.
It's election season. I think a lot of people were just high energy and low tolerance, and if you're not a part of us, then you're against us.
Yeah.
Kyle's a good kid. He went through a lot.
Yeah, he did.
And I don't think that we should expect anything from him other than we're sorry we weren't there for you more. Like this kid went through
Yep.
the mud, dragged through it.
Yeah, in fact, I think it was largely conservatives who used him for their own
Yeah.
personal gain, and he had some people in his corner after the trial that wanted to use him to grab some of the limelight. And he's 17, 18 years old. He was 18 years old when.
He's got some good advocates now. AK Guy, Brandon, Cody, Donor Operator, they're good people. I fully think they're trying to help him, bring him under his wing. But I was out there hanging out with him. He did. He lost a bunch of weight.
Boost.
But I think he's doing really well. So
Good for him. Yeah, he said being fat is a choice. Is that what that was?
Yep.
What he said,
that
right?
is correct.
And then he posted him when he was fat and him when he was fit.
Yep.
Very based. Yep, you can do it. I believe in all of you.
Well,
I
Zuck
will.
can do
I
it,
will.
right?
I challenge Phil because Phil tweeted the calories in, calories out thing,
Yes.
and it's true. But the issue I take with it is your average person counts calories and doesn't understand why they're getting fat, and it's because one, those things are widely inaccurate. Casey Neistat had a great video where he actually went around buying things from stores, brought them to a lab where they broke them down and actually measured the calories, and it was way crazier. Subway actually was really good. It was very low. And so what happens is I've seen so many people, they're like, I'm counting my calories and I'm at 1,700 for the day and I'm gaining weight. And it's like, what are your calories? And they're like, I eat a lot of macaroni and cheese.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
And it's like, okay, so you're tired and you're sitting around all day. It's like, dude, counting calories doesn't cut it.
Because people don't know what their baseline calorie use is either.
Right. And so all they do is but it's not even that. It's like, I think Neil deGrasse Tyson did this thing where he's like, all that matters is that you consume less calories than you put out. And it's like, no, because if you're not eating protein,
Yeah,
you see that woman who was a fruitarian who died recently?
These macros had to be converted to something. So it's, sorry, go ahead.
No, there's this viral story about a woman who was a fruitarian vegan for 20 years, and she looks like she weighs 100 pounds soaking wet, and her arms are skeletons, and she's like, I only eat fruit, and it's
She's
like,
malnourished. Yeah.
yeah, horribly malnourished. So if you eat 2,000 calories of like just carbs and I'll tell you this, if you don't have any fat, you die. It's called rabbit starvation. So when they say all that matters is calories in, calories out, and all these people are doing this low fat stuff. So when Venezuela was like, everybody breed rabbits because you're starving. It's called rabbit starvation because rabbit fat content is so low, you don't get enough fat in your diet, you die. You need fat.
Yep.
So it's important to track your macros. And then like actually getting your baseline metabolic rate's not something the average person can do.
Nope.
So really the only thing you can do is cut out the excess, stop having dessert, start exercising.
Just
Exercising is
Cash Brew
super
coffee for
important.
breakfast and lunch.
Like people,
only
if you
eat dinner.
like, I know that people want to say, "Oh, I'm on this diet or I'm taking this diet or whatever." Getting in cardio, and if you go and burn 500 to 1,000 calories in a day just doing cardio and exercise on top of whatever your normal stuff is, then and you try to limit your calories, you will lose weight because you really need to have that exercise in there too.
And it is a lifestyle. I mean, my wife and I, we bought weighted vests. We go for a walk every night. It's a chance to connect. It's like a 3/4 mile walk, but we're walking around, we're burning calories, and we're chit-chatting. Like, there's a way to make this a positive thing as well. So
I honestly,
Lectern too. That's a good workout.
I think walking is everything. I think it's really that simple, walking. People, I keep seeing all these things about like Japan eats this and, India eats this and Germany eats this. And I'm like, yeah, but we should actually measure how much people walk.
Yeah, it's,
In the United States, people don't walk.
it's like Wall-E. We're Wall-E. You know, the guys that are in the floating chairs.
We're sedentary.
There was that graph where everyone's like, around this time, people started gaining massive amounts of weight, and they were blaming like processed food or something. And I was like, bro, it's the internet. Once work went remote and social interactions were remote, people stopped walking to places to meet, and they started just talking online.
Yeah, and the Uber Eats, you know, you don't even have to just press a button, it shows up at your door.
So now
People don't even know how to cook. The kids I coach in college, they literally don't know how to cook pasta.
Oh, dude, you probably like. I bet the average person burned 700 calories per day from the daily activities of going to the store and buying something, and now they're wondering why they're gaining weight. And they're like, dude, I eat the same thing. Here's a question too: when people are like, when I'm in Europe and I eat, man, I don't gain as much weight when I come to the United States. Okay, fair point on the seed oils and the tartrazine and all that stuff too. But also consider when you're in a foreign country, are you walking to places? Versus are you sitting down and ordering on DoorDash or something?
You're also visiting places. You have an itinerary. You're going places, right? I also think maybe porn actually plays a big role in this. You used to go out on the weekends. You would go date. You go find a mate. You go to a bar. You dance, right? You would be active at night. You're finding someone. We have porn now. We sit in our homes. We don't go trying to find those people.
And also, the hanky-panky itself burns calories, and young men and women ain't doing that so much anymore either.
Nope.
All right, my friends, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. More importantly, go to timcast.com right now, click join us. The members-only show is going to be about the UK grooming gangs. Tommy Robinson has been covering this for a very long time. The information that's recently come out from the transcripts is so horrifying, you might actually not want to hear it. I'm sorry. But, you know, part of me is like, if this stuff is too extreme, people don't want to be members, then the company goes under. Nah, this is where we got to take it. Because I think you need to understand the depravity of what the UK was willing to do to pretend that multiculturalism worked. Let me tell you something. I got no problem with immigrants. Someone from India wants to come and assimilate into our culture. They want to come and they want to bring spices and food and games from their culture. Is totally fine. But this idea presented by the left of multiculturalism is that American culture sits side by side with insert foreign country. They clearly don't get along. What we end up seeing is in the UK, these grooming gangs and the systematic abuse and cover up by the government to defend the idea of multiculturalism. And it is horrifying. So timcast.com, click join us, become a member. We're going to dive into that, and then we're going to take your callers as members. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. So again, smash that like button. And Lectern fella, you want to shout anything out?
Oh, good Lord. Susie, love you. Thank you for letting me go around so much and have fun with my friends. You can follow me on Twitter. It's at Lectern Leader. And come have a good time.
What if Trump is like on the 20th? We're going to give a pardon to everyone.
Lectern Guy.
Except the Lectern Guy. Not him. None for him.
I would understand that. I'm kind of a horrible person. Yeah.
Richie McGinnis, author of Riot Diet, right here, One Man's Radical Ride Through America in Chaos. And you can get your copy on the Bezos Boutique, or you can get it at your local bookstore if you want to support them. And you can follow me on Twitter, Richie McGinnis, or Instagram, Richie McGinnis. Not Meta, not X. So we're going old school here.
I am Phil That Remains on X. I am Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. You can check out our brand new record. The band is All That Remains. You can check out our brand new record on January 31st. It's called Anti-Fragile. If you want to check out any of the 4 singles that we have released, it's Forever, Cold, Let You Go, No Tomorrow, and Divine. You can check them out on YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, and Deezer. Don't forget The Left Lane is for Crime.
Oh, and happy birthday, Mom. Happy Insurrection Day.
Nailed it.
Yep.
All right, everybody. We'll see you all over at timcast.com in about a minute. Thanks for hanging out.